Woo! We're getting started. Howdy, folks. It's been a minute. Been mad busy. It was last minute wedding preparation stuff, but I'm all back home and cozy now. And I'm in between this and going to Portugal for my honeymoon, so I figured I could get on here and talk to y'all for a bit. Just give you a brief update, I guess. I don't know. I'm like officially married now. I've got the ring on. I've been legally married for a while, but it's totally different when you have all of your friends and family from all over the place in one zone. I had a great time. Best wedding of my life, easily. Best party I've ever thrown. My grandma was cranking it to Soldier Boy at one point, and that's when I realized that everything was going to be okay. Um, yeah, I don't know. I'm just I'm the happiest I've ever been. I'm looking forward to the future. I've got my pinned tweet if you guys want to send me some money so we can start saving up to buy a house. I don't know where at yet, but that's the next move. And yeah, I'm just gonna try to get more into producing more content now that I have the stress of this off my back, because it's been 3 years of constantly planning this wedding and all changing the date on it from COVID shit and all of this other stuff. So finally, it happened, and it was a great time. My wife and I wrote our own vows. We made everyone cry. Everyone was weeping. It was beautiful. It was just a beautiful day. I couldn't have asked for anything more. I had all my friends from all over the place. Oh man, it was just great. Highly recommend it. I don't know. I'd actually recommend eloping and not stressing yourself out by planning a wedding because it's pretty expensive. I got to lock in those like 2018 rates on things, but it's like I have other friends planning weddings now, and everything has gone up in price so much. The whole industry is kind of a grift. But I don't know, man. Vermont's beautiful, um, obviously. So we were up in Vermont. That's where we had the wedding. It was a great time. I don't know. I've just been thinking about wedding stuff, and I've been thinking just like I don't know. Things have kind of been shit's been kind of hitting the fan. I was a little down seeing the amount of people who were celebrating the death of Daria Dugin. I thought that was pretty fucking atrocious to see uh, all across the internet, and frankly, seeing Ukraine flags all over the place doesn't do a great for my mental health. You could say. It's a little spooky. It's like if there were just it's like seeing like satanic flags everywhere or whatever. But you know, I see there's like tons of Masonic shit and all that up there too. It's a little midsummer up in Vermont in some ways. Vermont is like the like social democratic like ethno state of New England. It's got you've got it's like the Bernie Sanders country, and really these days it's mostly like work from homers who've moved out to the rural area so that they can be closer to their organic produce and away from those people, meaning Trump voters, of course, those guys who live in New Hampshire. I always like to think of Vermont and New Hampshire as the yin and yang of the American spirit in some ways, because there you've got the like kind of more elite bougier social democrats of Vermont, and then you have the more like rough and tumble rural New Hampshireite libertarians. They're the Ron Paul Maoist coalition here, and I drove the entire length of like the Connecticut River on the border between New Hampshire and Vermont, and it's just funny. It's just a funny thing to see on the map. I think this little yin yang situation. What have I been thinking about? Been thinking about grace is what I've been thinking about. Been thinking about nomos and grace. These concepts as of late, because I'm kind of bored with politics. I think we're pretty screwed on having political conversations. I don't what clearly the last 12 to 13 years of discourse have all been for nothing. We've done a gigantic great reset culturally, and it is currently the year 2009. That's my thesis. Steven Crowder is putting out jib jab videos. We've got where I just saw this that they're pushing the we got to fund the resistance against the Taliban in Afghanistan again. So we're all full circle. It's back to the year 2009. Joe Biden's going to give me a 10K. So thankfully, I stopped paying my student loans. Otherwise, I would have paid them off. But now I got my 10K. Woo woo. And that's going to give a Democratic supermajority. Probably that's all it's going to take, because those people are, they're going to vote. They're going to vote, and that's how it is. I don't know. In some ways, it's kind of better that we're just getting to this point where you just buy votes. It'll be better in the long term for the things we want to see. If we start having people competing over how much debt they can forgive, that'd be nice. Maybe that's the only way out of this racket. I'm like too happy to have real thoughts. I have more thoughts when I'm like ornery, but I'm just feeling pretty good today, guys. I don't know. I've been vibing my Bob Dylan stuff still, hitting up the really deep bootlegs, like recordings of Bob playing in hotel rooms in the 60s and just making up lyrics as he goes. I love those. What else? Watch Matinee last night. Everyone should watch that. Joe Dante in his entirety, one of the greatest American filmmakers, in my opinion. Gremlins 2. He did Small Soldiers, very underrated classic. Pretty much everything he did was like a little cult classic movie that was more popular in like video rental stores way later than they ever were in theaters. But Matinee is a beautiful movie. It's about monster movies and the Cuban Missile Crisis, and basically like the kind of like use of fear and like the overcoming of fear as this type of like spectacular marketing device in America. Like we love horror. Like people always wonder like that people don't understand that horror movies are the most American art form. That like horror is kind of like close to pornography. It's kind of a low art form because it really is just like ooh, scary thing. Oh, okay, but it wasn't real, so now I'm relieved. And that's pretty much what the whole movie's about. Is kind of saying that the Cuban Missile Crisis or a lot of these political situations are actually horror movies that are being presented to us to get us to volunteer to play like our roles in the narratological unfolding of the central plan here. So you can think of there's a scene in it, right, where they got the cube. They're like, oh, the nukes are gonna go off for sure, and everyone's rushing into it's like COVID. It was like the first week of COVID, and everyone's taking all of the toilet paper and stuff out of the store and fighting over wheat bran and like whether or not they'll be able to die in their bunkers with wheat bran or not. And that's just like COVID. That's just like we do this over and over and over again. We always have like a new fear manufactured, and everyone takes their sides in the horror story that the news cycle is telling us. It's a way to get everyone to volunteer to play their roles without having it seem like it's being forced upon them. Go, oh yeah. So the whole supply chain is going to collapse because of the virus, and we're all going to die. So rush on out there and get your toilet paper because we need more consumption. That's how it is, though. That's how we plan things in America. Is we just come up with something to be terrified by collectively, and then we all realize that it was all fake. We go, oh, okay, at least it was all fake, and it's over now. COVID's over now. Certainly over now. Now it's 2009. Big time warp. Yeah, this will be a short one if I don't get any people on here to start asking me questions or whatever. Because I don't know. I guess you guys gonna go see the Jan Ziska movie, which they have to call medieval in America because no one knows who Ziska is. I'm hyped for that. And the other thing is, I was hoping Mage might pop in because I feel like he probably knows more about what is it? A certain magical index. That's the this anime about Rosicrucians. I was like, what's this? I found out about this last night, and I was like, damn, I probably have to watch that because it's like about Rosicrucians fighting like evil Catholic nuns. I was like, nice. That's my world. Yeah. Oh, cool. We got a request. Nice. Jinko Borg. What is up? I'm imagining you as a Hot Topic goth in Jinko jeans. Okay. Anyone else? Jinko's not speaking up. Jinko, are you? I hope you're struggling to find a microphone or something.
Hey, Logo.
Howdy.
Hey, buddy. Congratulations on getting married.
Thanks, man. Thanks, man.
I I definitely agree with you there about eloping. I did that a couple of years ago, and it was the best thing my wife and I ever did. Um, been a big fan of your spaces the last few weeks. When you were going off about kind of the Disneyfication of everybody's roles in the workplace, of everybody being
Yeah, the
pretty
set
much
and setting
on.
where it's like really being a barista is really like pretending to be a barista, you know?
Right. Yeah. I was in when you were going on your hot streak there. I was in the process of quitting my job of 3 years in construction. I was a I was a site manager, and so my head was swimming at the time, with where I was standing in that kind of space. And I did feel like I when I was in that job, I did feel like I was very much kind of a stagehand on a production.
That
Um,
is what it is,
yeah,
pretty much.
exactly, exactly. And it
You
kind
could
of broke
say
my
like
bit.
I mean, it's not like there's any like the thing is like I'm not like trying to like shame people for like what
Yeah.
they do for a living or whatever. It's just like, it's not personal. It's just class analysis. It's like I'm not like like if I had to pretend to be a proletarian, I'd be like, "Oh, so right now I'm literally producing speech. I'm literally
Hmm.
producing content. So like I'm in the minds of the idea of the noetic realm, like, I'm like Kafka with his axe chopping away at the glacier of our collective unconscious or something. And now I have to like pretend like that's the same thing as a cobalt miner in Ghana, And
Right.
it's like I'm not
Yeah.
that insane to say that. There's like just not that much proletarian labor in America. It's very devalued. In fact, like, I was driving. There's so many fucking solar panels up here right now. That's been the huge push in New England. I know so many, all my friends, like a lot of my friends who stuck around, they ended up getting jobs in like the just various parts of the industry of putting up solar panels because it's been hugely pushed as like we say there's no central planning, but this is like they make tons of grants for this, and then they make create whole markets for it. And what it really is you got all these companies going around and they're offering to lease your roof space on your house to put up solar panels, right? So that you're actually selling like rights to use your roof to these people to put in the solar panels because they put the money down for the solar panels or whatever. There's a whole bunch of different financing schemes for it. But at the end of the day, if you look at where these solar panels are actually being manufactured, they're being manufactured by prisoners. They're being manufactured by prison labor industries in America. Like literally, like that's the proletarian aspect of it. I guess my boy who goes up on the roof and puts them up is producing some sort of surplus value in the construction of this thing. But at the end of the day, like the solar panel itself is literally being produced by prison labor, which is like getting paid like slave wages. It's insane.
Right. Yeah. Very different from being an installer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there. But really, what I wanted to ask you about was pension. I being a neat now, I had the time to ride my bike over to the local bookstore, and I combed the rows, and they had the only copy they had was Vineland. So I started jumping into that yesterday, and I was very amused by the premise starting off. And I know that's
Oh,
kind of
it's very funny. It's
one
an
of his middle
underrated
work.
one. I think it's
Yeah, no, it's
underrated.
hilarious so far. I'm not that far in, but I did kind of want to hear your thoughts on it.
That's a really cool way to get into it. I think reading Vineland first is like a really funny way of
Yeah,
getting into Pynchon. But yeah, that's
yeah,
a
yeah.
good one because it's basically just about like like it's like all these like crusty anarchists in like the
Mhm.
Pacific Northwest, like just surrounded by like military intelligence and like Raytheon and stuff like that. Like that's what it's really about. It's like what happens to like the second generation of hippies. With like the yuppie boom of like the Pacific Northwest and like the burgeoning of like Silicon Valley and stuff like that. That's really what it's
Absolutely.
ultimately about.
There's the subliminal jihad episode they did about the Unabomber, and in one of his more incoherent screeds, he was going on about he was kind of going on like almost proto cancel culture rant, and he brought up like they're even going to take away your Twinkies at some point.
Yeah, yeah.
And what are you talking about, man? Why do you care about the Twinkies? And that's what it seemed. That's the kind of vibe I get with like the character Zoid and all these second gen hippies is they are completely plugged into the Matrix, and they don't think they are.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
such a phenomenon.
Well, I mean, I see the big giant boomer children out and about all the time, driving their like little their fixed up muscle cars and their little trikes. Do you see the boomer trikes everywhere? The big
Yeah.
boomer tricycles that they ride around like toddlers. My God, I just want to knock them around with a cane. You know, I'm the real old man here. When I see these fucking boomers, these old ass retired boomers on their tricycles, they're like $100,000 tricycles or whatever the fuck those things are. Ugh, the boomers, man. We're almost done. We're almost done with them. Their time's almost up, but they got Biden, and they're probably gonna have one more. They got one more in them, I think, and then we'll have millennial president, and we'll all die, or at least we'll be tortured. We'll be taken to black sites, uh, to be taught how to be a literally decent fucking human being.
Awesome. I can't wait. Well,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and mute myself. I
All
appreciate it,
right.
Logo.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on, man.
Peace.
Felix, what up? I'm just going down the line. Good morning, Felix. Felix.
Hey, am I speaker?
Yeah, I put you on. What's up, man?
What's going on, Logo? Hey, congrats, man.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I feel great, dude. I've literally never been happier. It's like everyone, when you have so many people around who are happy for you and everyone's happy, it's just like, it's infectious. I feel full of love.
Yeah, man. I've been reading so much lately. The Rosicrucian Enlightenment, almost done with that.
Oh, hell yeah.
Uh, yeah, I picked up Dubliners. Make me feel really weird, actually. I didn't expect you to be like that. It
Me?
makes you think. What's that?
What's making you feel weird?
Oh, Dubliners, I mean, the story.
Oh, yeah.
All
Oh,
the
yeah.
short stories are so interesting.
Yeah, it's really Dubliners is like, I think I said this on another space. I did a Joyce lecture or whatever, but Dubliners is really like it's like the antechamber of the Inferno, where it's like his vision of hell is like Dubliners and Portrait, where that's really what it's about. It's about
Yeah,
like the hell of Dublin.
yeah. The themes of paralysis and where you're just stuck in that, like, it kind of reminds me of what you've been talking about, like America with the deindustrialization. Everybody just feels stuck. So I think it's a good story to read right now. But I also read your
Yeah.
book.
Oh yeah. What do you think? I'm gonna be I gotta be promoting that on Red Scare probably in October. So
Yeah,
so
you should get them to read it because they did a whole episode on Bap's book
Oh yeah,
recently.
no. Anna posted a pic with selfie suicide in it. So they want me on. I just have been busy. So I'm gonna be going to New York in October, I think, and I'll be on that. And hopefully that does well for me
It's the
promotionally.
new wave. I got to tell everybody because I think the beginning starts out a little bit confusing, but by the end it's just hitting like a truck. I thought it was
Yeah,
really
I
good.
mean, I wrote the beginning to be more like if you like it's more of like a part to reread. I feel like it's like I went back and like worked on it after writing the whole thing, and kind of took it with that in mind because it's like my favorite openings to books are ones where it's like a complete filter, and it's like I literally made a whole chapter about waiting in line for the book, really. And I guess that's a
Yeah,
troll. That's a pretty big troll, especially compared to like, people reading BAP and it's just like it's like all there on its like face. It's kind of pornographic almost, but that's the appeal of it is that it's like all laid out like pretty openly. Where I was like trying to be more ironic, so so it goes.
yeah. No, I like how it's got like a stream of consciousness thing. I was so disoriented in the beginning, but I kind of like how it brings you into that feeling because it just doesn't get any more oriented as it goes on.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I think it's decent at this point. I wrote that as a much younger man, and I've been working on my next one, so it's gonna be much longer. So I don't know how long it's gonna take, but this winter I'm planning to like hunker down and go really hard on it. I got really inspired by driving all across America. I want it to be more of like a road novel. Like we have like unity of time and place, like single location really for selfie suicide, but this next one is going to be more like a an epic in the sense of like a picaresque novel where it's like different societies and like moving across a wide expanse of time and space.
Yeah, I've always thought I'd love to hear you or see you write a book that's like Pynchon-esque in the way you've interacted with so many personalities on the internet over the years.
Yeah, that's pretty much what the one I'm writing. That's the one that it's going to be. I think it'll be the good one. It'll be the bigger one.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of comedy in there too.
Oh,
There's
absolutely.
like you could reveal a lot of things, but you could also do that Pynchon thing where he brings the comedy to it.
Yeah, I'm really feeling like writing like a honky tonk and rambling novel, like keeping it moving through
Yeah.
a whole bunch. Yeah, like a carnivalesque, like bunch of different casts of characters. Yeah, I've met so many fucking characters in my life, man. I've been all over this country, so I got a lot to work from,
Oh yeah.
which I didn't
Well, I
have
didn't
when I
have too
wute
much
the
to say
first
in
one.
particular.
I did not have that experience when I wrote the first one. It was all that's like my New York is literally hell book. And now I'm writing like, you know what, America's gonna be okay. That's gonna be this one. So I guess spoiler alert. That's like New York's not okay, but America's gonna be okay.
Yeah. All right, man. I didn't have too
All
much
right.
to say. You caught me off guard,
Well,
but
thanks,
it's
man.
good to talk to you.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, man. I'm going to the next one. All right. We got Lumpin' Scum. Uh oh. Uh oh. Uh oh. Lumpin' Scum. Ooh, tell me your utility, Lumpin' Scum.
Yo, what's up, Logo? I
What's
do
up?
not have any utility, unfortunately. I am an email monkey, so not
Oh
exactly a
man,
member of the proletariat here. But
yeah, it's rough.
yeah,
It's rough, dude. I've been there. But you get cozy conditions. You're probably salary chilling right now. Are you salary chilling right
I'm
now?
salary chilling. I'm working probably 2-3 hours a day of my 9-hour day, making it seem
You
like I'm
reading?
working
You downloading those PDFs on your work computer? That's all I
on
did.
LibGen. Hell yeah, dude. You know how it is.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Writing and shit on.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, I got so much more reading done doing one of those stupid fucking jobs than I did in like college, like a whole year of college.
Dude, way more, because in college you're just reading all this stuff that you're reading like samples of books and stuff, or like little sections of books.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I read a fuck ton in college anyway, but what I mean is like I would be like, oh, I have to read for class.
Yeah.
And then when I was done, I was like, all right, time to like get drunk.
No.
But then it was like I'm working a job. I got no friends because all my college
Yep.
friends left, and I'm just in the city. So I'm just like, I just literally I would wake up, be reading PDFs on my phone on the subway, go to work, do 2 hours of work. I would speed run my whole day's job in 2 hours.
Yep.
Before the business even opened, and I would come in early so I could clock overtime every single day.
Yeah.
And then I just did nothing, and I read all day and tweeted all day, and that was it.
Yeah, dude, I'm literally doing the same exact thing. I started this job.
It's
like,
such a joke.
Right at the beginning of the summer, I've read more books. Like, I've just been reading a bunch of novels, and I've read more novels than I've literally ever read in like a short period of time in my life. Like, I don't think I've read this much since I was like in 8th grade, when I was just like obsessed with like fucking Aragon books and shit. But
oh my god, those books, dude.
Dude, yeah, that's a throwback.
I remember those.
But
yeah, Star Wars meets Lord of the Rings. Literally the plot of Star Wars, but in Lord of the Rings. That's what that book is.
Exactly, like fucking exactly. I just had like two questions for you, or like one's more of a comment,
for sure,
kind of a life update. But I have this like bookstore right next to me, and it sells like both like used and new books. They'll like buy people's books and shit. And I was there, and I was like in the Kerouac section. I love Kerouac and shit. And they had a copy of like a pristine copy, like perfect condition. It's a first edition On the Road, that black hardcover with like the little like abstract red and blue design on the front. They were selling it for $12, and it's like in perfect condition.
Dude, they have no idea what they have.
Dude,
they have no, like, I'm telling you,
man, I was like,
who
is assessing the value of these books when they buy them from people? So I immediately bought it, and I went online. I was like looking at how much people were selling their copies for. People were selling them for like $1,500 and shit. Like the cheapest one I could find was like $250, and I was like, oh my god, dude, I'm gonna keep this for like ever. This is like my most prized possession now.
That's like I have a first edition Vineland. I have a lot of pretty valuable first editions actually.
They sell
at used bookstores.
They sell a first edition at that same bookstore for $1,500. So it's like, and that one's in pristine condition, the hardcover with that like, it's the fucking sick sort of like orange and yellow cover on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then I guess my second question was, obviously I just heard you talk about kind of like your upcoming novel or whatever, and I read Selfie Suicide, and that one obviously employs like a third person. I think it's present tense. How do you like, when you're writing, how do you see the significance of like tense and perspective? Because I feel like it's something that goes overlooked a lot, but like for anyone who's written like significant amount of fiction. Like this is something I change my novels like all the time. Where I'll like start writing one tense, I'm like, oh shit, this story is actually like more suitable for this or that tense and this perspective. So like,
Yeah,
how do
yeah,
you do
yeah.
that?
Well, as you're saying, it's like it's kind of a tool in like your workshop. So it's like I employ different tenses and different like narrative perspectives. Like for instance, I think the next one I'm going to be writing like a personal, like a first person perspective. Like I want to
Yeah.
write more of a like the character like it might be employing a couple. So like having like sort of like in the Nabokovian strain of like having like the writer and the commentator on the
Yes.
writer. So it's going to
Yes.
be like, yeah. So I want to do something more like that because I think that's more fun. I wanted to like I do like a third person thing if it's more like a fairy tale. I feel like if it's more like a parable or something, and that's really more
Yeah.
how I felt about like Selfie Suicide. Is that it's kind of almost a screenplay even. Like I don't know. I think I could turn it into a movie pretty
It was
easily.
super biblical.
Yeah. I
It was
was trying
super
to go more
biblical at
that
the end.
route.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was going more that route with that one, but this one I'm going more with like a travelogue. So then obviously that's like a first person perspective,
Yeah.
like a
Yeah. Fuck it.
memoir.
Personally, I've always found it easier to write in like first person past tense or first person present tense, depending. But like it just totally changes the flow of the story. And I don't know, like whenever one of my friends is like, "Oh, Charlie, like I'm reading a book," or whatever, just because they know like I read a lot of novels and stuff. I always ask them. I'm like, "Oh, like what tense and perspective is it in?" And they're just like, like I don't even know. I don't like notice that kind of stuff." And I'm like, "How can you not? Like that's the first thing I'm like looking at
Yeah,
in a book. From like, where is this perspective like coming from? Like, how is this story being told?" And you immediately sort of like, I don't know, get a feeling for the novel and whatever.
yeah. My for the first one, I like a talkier kind of books. Like I like skaz as it's called in like Russian lit, where it's like kind of chatty. I like that
Yeah.
kind of narration style more, which is closer to first person. So even like my omniscient like third person narration is kind of talky or chatty in
Yes.
that, just because that's how it's more fun. Like I don't know, I write like I
Where
talk.
where the reader's like almost like an interlocutor with like the writer, sort of like you're in a dialogue almost with them. Like
Yeah,
I feel like you
or
can
it's
establish that a bit better.
like asking the reader questions and things like that.
Yes. Yeah, speaking directly to them and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. That's pretty much all I had for you. And last thing, just congratulations on the marriage. And I heard your wife is pregnant and stuff. That's like super exciting. So congrats.
Yeah, man. It was like so that was like a big double whammy for the wedding. Everyone was hyped for like a million reasons. We kept that under wraps
Yeah.
too, so it's like half the people there had no idea, and the looks on their faces was amazing.
Yeah. Was it a big wedding?
Oh, it was huge. We had like 130 people, I think.
Oh, that's so
And I
fucking
don't know if
awesome, man.
that's not like an Indian wedding or something. That would be tiny, but for us that was really big.
No, yeah, that is a big wedding. That's super hit. That's super
Yeah,
hype.
it was super hype. It was all on one site too. So we did like the ceremony, the reception, and the after party, etc. It was like a whole weekend. Everyone was on site in the same place. So it was just like I got so fucked up. I was so
Yeah.
fucking lit. I got so trashed on my wedding night. It was amazing. It was so fun.
Are you guys?
Like,
Are you on your honeymoon now, or you guys have
oh
anything
no,
planned?
we got like a week, but before we fly out, but we're hitting up Portugal, south of France, and Munich for Oktoberfest, and then it'll be autumn winter lockdown for a while.
Hell yeah, dude! So excited for you. Yeah, man. I'll get off here so
All
some
right,
other people can speak.
for
But have a
sure.
great day,
Thanks,
bro.
man. You too, man.
Peace.
All right, Seinfeld, RoboCop, Seinfeld. You're up.
Hey, Logo, congratulations, man. I'm really happy for you. Um, and I mean, you want a boy or a girl? You looking at twins, or you have any preference?
Oh, I already know. But
Oh,
I'm gonna keep it under wraps for a bit. But yeah, no, my wife and I, we get along like so well that like all of the like naming like people always arguing about names or whatever. We've had names picked out for everything for years, so it's all already set. Like
nice.
everything's good to go.
Yeah, I wanted a boy, but I ended up with two girls. But I love them to death. It's gonna be
Yeah, I
a
mean,
lot
how
of
can you
fun,
really
and
complain?
it sounds like your kid's gonna be a genius. So that's
Yeah, that's gonna be rough. That's gonna be tough, I think, because if they're anything like me, they're gonna be they're gonna be hard to keep track of. So, but
yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
I just came on here to get your comments or thoughts on Sam Hyde. I thought it was just a
Oh,
very like
oh my God. That was the
cataclysmic
funniest thing
thing.
he's done. That's the
Yeah.
funniest thing he's done in so long. I was like, I watched all the Irish Candyman interviews and stuff. This is where what he should have been doing for a while. You know, he's such like a WWE like kind of guy. You know, like his whole thing is like he is like a perpetual like WWE like heel character for like the entirety of the internet in a lot of ways. You know, he's like plays like, you know, the outlaw villain, you know, character in a way. But like, you know, like the villain with a heart of gold secretly, you know, like that's his character. And I mean his name is even like everyone likes to point this out, but you know, to lie like Sam Hyde is like literally a phrase in New England dialect, like local dialect. Like I heard that growing up as a child. And it's based off of
Oh, really?
this infamous like folkloric figure of like the like during like King Philip's War.
Okay, I had no idea about any
Yeah,
of that.
dude. Yeah, you can look it up. It's Sam Hyde, but it's Hide, and you'd find it easily.
Yeah, there was just like one interview that he was doing, and like the guy said, like it's really refreshing to see this kind of like attitude because like everyone's always so serious in that like boxing world, but like Sam's bringing some like levity to it, and he's just like making
Yeah,
it fun. And
I think
yeah,
he called his hands like crunchtacular crab sticks at one point in one of the
yeah,
interviews.
those
That really got
limericks
me.
were insane. Yeah,
Yes,
I
yes.
think he had
Oh
his
my
whole
God.
team helping him write those limericks.
Yeah, that's like that's the kind of content that I crave. I thought it was hilarious. And obviously like the whole bubble of like DSA guys, you know, Hassan, Chapa,
Yeah,
these
yeah, I
guys
was going to bring that up. Yeah.
th- this whole 2010s culture wave is completely on the out. And I think actually in a way Sam is kind of like leaving that era as well, like leaving this sort of like 2010s culture wars type of stuff because he's like kind of transcended that now. Like this is like because like he's like getting like mainstream appeal at this point now, like with KSI or whatever, or just like trolling all these British people. So I think I think he's like gonna have his redemption arc in some ways, like from this. Um I don't know. I think
Yeah,
it's good. I think culturally we're probably headed like again, like I think it's kind of like a great reset to like 2009 where like the whole like you know the whole cancel flame wars like how shall we govern Reddit question has ultimately been like brought up and now it's like getting discarded again because everyone's kind of sick of arguing about what should or should not be acceptable speech or whatever.
yeah, I think like I mean that whole world of like Chapo and like all the anti-fascists, I think they might be like onto something in a way. They're saying like fascism is coming, but like what fascism really means is like the Adam Friedland show is making like 100,000 a month on Patreon, and like Sam Hyde is now like you know almost in like a mainstream kind of culture way. And like, yeah, I think there's like maybe a cultural tide shift that's actually going to be going on. And it's just like refreshing to see because I am so sick of this. Like, it's so it's gay. Like, I hate this shit. So,
It literally ended. You know what I mean? Like the whole
yeah,
vibe of the 2010s is out the fucking window now. We're still defining what it's going to be like, but I think this is like the first decade that'll define what the 21st century really looks like. I think the 2010s were kind of an abortion in its entirety. Kind of a wash. Kind of a cultural wash.
yeah. All right. Well, Logo. Again, congratulations. Really happy for you, man. And
Yeah. Thanks,
have
man.
a great day.
You too,
Bye.
man. All right. We got oh, my boy. Whoop whoop, my dude. What is up? Whoop whoop. Good morning. Whoop whoop and good morning. Furthermore, good morning.
Sorry. What up? What up, logo?
What up? I got a bumblebee on me right now.
That's
What's up,
beautiful.
buddy?
That's awesome, man. Dude, no, it's crazy. Congratulations, by the way. I didn't get to say that in the post, but man, that's awesome.
Oh,
It's
thanks,
glad
man.
to
Thanks,
hear.
man.
I
Yeah, everyone listening, go see my pinned tweet. Send me $5. No, it's just it's my Zola registry or whatever. So we're opening all our gifts today. So
That's
if you guys
awesome.
want to contribute to that, yeah, it'll be fun.
All right, for sure. Hey, man, I just want to let you know that last night you kind of helped me out quite a bit. with a topic that was kind of like, it's difficult. It really is, man. Like the whole concept of infinity. Like,
Yeah.
I
Oh yeah, let's talk about that. That's a great subject
yeah,
because it actually
oh, sorry.
I just wanted to give you a little playback on this because actually one of like the earliest arguments me and my wife had in college was over the definition of infinity for like for like 2 hours. We talked about like what was the definition of infinity and
Mm-hmm.
like what it is. And I still had a more like singular conception of it, but she was like she's like into like Gödel and like set theories and stuff like that. So she's like, no, 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 no. There's many different types of infinity, and it was like a big day for me actually when I realized the distinction between the indefinite, like the infinite, and the eternal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's still dawning on me, and I'm still kind of like, I'm still in my mind dealing with, like, in a way, like categorizing or sorting through in my mind. My mind's going crazy about it, but it's like in a way that's like it's trying to figure it out, which
Yeah,
isn't bad. It's just like it's tough because like I would imagine a tree, like a conception tree, where it's like, oh fuck, your whole root is kind of fucked up. You gotta fix that.
yeah, yeah. Well, it's like Hegel calls like what most people consider infinity, or like you think of like Nietzschean eternal return kind is
Hmm.
like kind of what he calls bad infinity, like endless
Right.
regression, like that's like the indefiniteness of like constant repetition, just like a equals a for eternity. That's
Copy,
bad
copy,
infinity.
copy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Where everything's the same and nothing changes. That's like the bad infinity. It's like the
Right.
dark night of the soul of like King Solomon, and like Ecclesiastes being like everything is the same, as all this infinity is actually like kind of a zero. And that's
Mm.
like a type of like almost Buddhist understanding of the infinite, where it's like everything is like where it's so self same and in
Hmm.
its iterations that it ultimately is nothing. Whereas like a true like infinite is like the infinity of particularities and like the microscope, like the holism of infinity, in the sense that like there's endless novelty, and there's not like, and it's not everything is the same under the sun, but it's like every single particular thing is an infinite like infinitely perfect whole, like, and it's always becoming something that beyond itself.
Wow. Yeah, it's weird because thinking of it in an aspect of like having like like, I think what I remember is like an infinite requires a circumference, like a barrier, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
I didn't. See. That's where it blew my mind because like okay, so like I can't. It's hard for me to conceptualize really because it's like, damn, what do you like? It's required, but like it when you're so used to that term indefinite, it's like you erase the barrier, and then like I read that Northrop Frye passage, I'm like, what the fuck? Like that's insane.
Yeah,
Not in
yeah,
a
yeah.
bad way, but like holy shit.
If you could pull up that Northrop Frye passage and read it, that'd be great. But if
Uh,
do you have it on hand anywhere? I thought you had it in like
yeah, yeah, I
correspondence. So,
have. Let me actually just. I'll let you read it. I'm kind of doing some
all
stuff,
right, just
so
DM it to me. DM it to me, and I'll read
yeah,
it real quick. Yeah,
yeah.
I was gonna say this is like one way of conceiving of it. It's actually in a Dublin. No, it's in Portrait. What am I saying? But it's like so if you imagine like, right, you've been sent to hell because like this is already you've been sent to hell, and every day you get a chance to guess a number, right? And if you guess the right number, then you get to leave, right? So
Mm-hmm.
if this game is starting where it's only the natural and like counting numbers, so you start with one, and the next day you say two, and the next day you say three, you can at least know that eventually, at some point, you will get to the answer in infinity, right? You'll eventually get
Right.
to the answer. But if it's all of the numbers, then there's nowhere to start. Do you start at negative 0.001? Do you start at negative 0.00001? Do you go to the left and do more negative numbers? Do you go to the right and do more positive numbers? There's actually no way ever, because every in between every gap of numbers you pick, there is another infinite amount of numbers.
Yeah. This fucking it's yeah. Well, when I try to think of infinity, like it always kind of comes back to like numbers or thing like is that would be a representation of things, I guess, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, that's motherfucker. God damn it, it's so like it's laughable. Like I had a hard time sleeping because like my brain was doing all this work, so I'm like sitting here with kind of less no sleep, but I'm like in a way calm about it. I'm like, yeah, there has to be an understanding because
Yeah.
it's laughable. It's just funny.
All right, I got
Fuck.
the fry up, so I'm going to read it real
Yeah.
quick. And of course, it
Yeah, go
begins
ahead,
with
man.
the great William Blake quote, of course, and I would also recommend the Bob Dylan song "Grain of Sand," which is a direct reference to this. But to see a world in a grain of sand and heaven in a wildflower, hold infinity in the palm of your hand and eternity in an hour. And that's also nice because wildflower was actually the theme of our wedding, right? And our song was Tom Petty's Wildflowers. So all of so many
Wow.
synchronicities. So such perception, as the title of the poem makes clear, is an augury of the paradisal unfallen state. The last two lines bring us to the next step in the argument. Those who, like Locke, attempt to separate existence from perception are also separating time from space, as we exist in time and perceive in space. Those who, like the artist, accept the mental nature of reality know that we perceive a thing at a definite moment, and that there is thus a quality of time inherent in all perception. And on the other hand, that existence is in a body, which has a spatial extension. We are back again to Blake's doctrine that reason is the bound or outward circumference of energy, that energy and form, existence and perception are the same thing. Consequently, every act of the imagination, every such union of existence and perception is a time space complex, not time plus space, but time times space, so to speak, in which time and space as we know them disappear, as hydrogen and oxygen disappear when they become water. This is what the words eternal and infinite mean in Blake. Eternity is not endless time nor infinitely endless space. They are the entirely different mental categories through which we perceive the unfallen world. A spiritual world, which is visualized as a world of unchanging order, symbolized by the invariable interrelations of mathematics, is not an eternal world, but a spatial one, from which of abstract time, from which time has been simply eliminated. And to complete the antithesis, a spiritual world visualized as one of unchanging duration is a world of abstract time, from which the bounding outline or of spatial limits of existence have been eliminated. The Lockean can conceive of eternity and infinity only in either or both of these ways. This is why he uses two words, one suggesting time and the other space, for the same thing. But his two categories have nothing to do with real infinity and eternity, nor in fact has he two of them. All he has in each case is the indefinite, which is the opposite of the infinite or eternal, and one of the most sinister things for Blake. Clock time is a mental nightmare, like all other abstract ideas, an impalpable present vanishing between an irrevocable past and an unknown future. It is the source of all our ideas of fate and causality. It suggests an inexorable march of inevitably succeeding events, in which everything is a necessary consequence of causes stretching back to an unknown God as a first cause, and stretching on into a future which would be completely predictable if it were not too complicated. Its only possible symbol, not only for Blake, but even for those who believe in it, is the chains, which is also a symbol of slavery. At best, time is the mercy of eternity. Its swiftness makes more tolerable the conditions of our fallen state. But to the imaginative eye, there is a more definite shape to time. In most religious allegories, including Blake's, this is indicated by the boundaries ascribed to it, a beginning at the creation or fall and an end at the apocalypse. This is a convenient way of expressing the fact that the fallen world is temporal and the unfallen eternal, but is not essential and is even misleading when carried too far. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. If we try to visualize what happened before that, we get an impression of extraordinary bleakness. This is because we cannot think of eternity except by extending time indefinitely when we think of it as a continuation of this world. As Blake says, many suppose that before the creation all was solitude and chaos. This is the most pernicious idea that can enter the mind. Eternity exists and all things in eternity, independent of creation, which was an act of mercy. Orthodox ideas of the joys of heaven and the torments of hell also deal with the indefinite rather than the eternal. The religious idea of salvation depends on transcending this view of time. The man survives the death of the natural part of him as the total form of his imaginative acts as the human creation out of nature which he has made. When Blake says eternity is in love with the productions of time, he means in part that every imaginary victory won on this earth, whether by the artist, the prophet, the martyr, or by those who achieve triumphs of self sacrifice, kindliness, and endurance, is a permanent reality, while the triumphs of the unimaginative are lost. Existence and perception being the same thing, man exists eternally by virtue of and to the extent of his perception of eternity. Any doctrine of personal immortality which conceives of it either as the survival of the individual or of the disappearance of the individual into some objective form of generalized being, such as matter or force or the collective memory of posterity, is again thinking of the eternal as the indefinite. The same principles apply to space. The universe stretches out to indefiniteness in all directions, and to the fallen eye it is without any kind of limit or outline. All that this suggests to the imagination is the latter's own insignificance and helplessness. Yet somehow we manage to shrug it off and go on with our own concerns. By doing so, we indicate that as far as our lives go, there is something about time and space that is not real, and something about us that is. However, man may have tumbled into this world of indefinite space, he does not belong to it at all. Real space for him is the eternal here, where we are is always the center of the universe, and the circumference of our affairs is the circumference of the universe, just as real time is the eternal now of our personal experience. The ordinary man assumes, as a working hypothesis, that all the universe outside his range is not worth bothering one's head about unduly. The visionary sees, as the final revelation of the word which God speaks to his mind, that the whole outside universe is a shadow of an eclipsed man. Now, well, that's why you read Northrop Frye, ladies and gentlemen. That fucking A. Like, oh my God, people tell you to read other 20th century guys. What are you talking about? Northrop Frye. My God. Nail on the head. I just want to, I'm writing about a similar thing right now, and I can't do better than that.
Yeah, it seems like it's extremely direct, and it's like I think it's just it goes to show, like especially how it's like every time like you want to worry about these things that are outside of your, I guess would say, imaginary perception or just extension. It's like there's a like a limit for yourself. There has to be a limit. Like you just and it's like what it doesn't matter. It's like you got to stop at a certain point and realize, look at what's around you right now.
Yeah, you got to see it in the grain of sand, like in the wildflower. Like I'm right here. My whole world right now is my backyard. My whole world is as far as I can see. I'm like in a little snow globe universe, and you're in yours, and you're in yours, and you're in yours. Everyone else has theirs too, and we're all participating in the same collective act of like eternity here. We're all carving our impressions into eternity.
Right. I do have a question on particular topics with infinitude. Like, so I know that I'm kind of confused on the not even concept, because now I'm looking at everything because I'm getting my mind blown here with all this new information. Finitude. What is that? Nothing. What is that?
Well, are you finite? Like, what are your limits?
No.
Do you know your limits?
I know.
Like, do you know
Well.
what your limits are? What is the limit of anything? Like, do we actually truly, like, we always talk about this, right? Like, this is like even political. We talk about limits to growth, right? And like the limits of
Mhm.
resources and things like that. But how do we know those things? How do we know our limits?
Mm-hmm. Right. I guess when I say limits, it's like maybe when I conceptualize limits, it's like I'm looking at it wrong. I'm thinking that maybe it's like, oh, well, I'm forced to do certain stuff. I don't know if that's limits, but it's like, as a human, I have to meet certain things. I have to do certain things. I
What do you
guess
have to do?
I have to eat, sleep,
No, you don't.
go to the bathroom, those
You can choose not
necessary
to.
things. I
You
guess.
can test your limits on those. How long have you gone without eating before?
Uh, true. I haven't tested it.
You have no idea how long you could go without eating. You have no idea how long you could go without sleeping.
So,
You have to
okay.
test
So,
your limits. And if you kept doing that, you could push your limits.
okay.
Not indefinitely, for sure. Not indefinitely.
Yeah. So yeah, you don't. Okay, gotcha. I think I know what you're saying. It's like, okay, you're not like bound to this one specific. You go to this time at this point in time, and that's it. That's period. Rather than it's like
It's
you
like
can extend it out.
the way Blake puts it is like when you're trying to understand this, it's enough or too much. But how do you know what's enough if you don't know what too much is? So how do you know what the enough not eating is until you've done too much not eating, right? How do you like
Hmm.
you don't even know what it's really like to be starving yet, right? But like if you
Yeah.
were in that position, you would know. And you would know what enough really is. How much you
Right.
really need.
Well, yeah, it's like right, and then I guess I could take that to like having like material things. It's like I already know what I need to like sustain myself. Like I don't need
Yeah,
much.
because you
It's
probably
but
had too much. You've already had too much, and you're like, I could do with less.
yeah, yeah. I don't
I've
need
been
it. It's
there.
not necessary. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
but there's some people and they don't know, and they keep acquiring more and more and more, and they never realize when it's too much, and they still think it's never enough.
Hmm. Right.
But it's like that's
Yeah.
really like I would say personally that's something like I've come around to is like I'm a fucking simple ass man. I'm a very simple man. I do not have many needs at all. I'm like I could be happy with nothing. Not in like a great reset way, but in a way where it's like I care. The things that I care about is like I care about like my friends and my family, and I care about like having free time so I can talk about these sorts of things. Like I could maybe in another hypothetical world, right? I met a lot of these people recently, a lot of my wife's friends from college, like they do very well for themselves, like in banking or finance or as a consultants or whatever. They work all the time though, and they are jealous of me. They are all jealous of me. They have no idea what I do. They just know that I create whatever I want to do, that my job's really just doing that. I don't make nearly as much as they do on like in like a month, right? And they wish they can't live like me though. They couldn't do it. They couldn't handle it.
Right. Right. I well, yeah. It's kind of funny because like at that what we've discussed and what I've experienced. It's like I've kind of have to like I had to rethink about like maybe I need to really push my like faith as far as like I have to really reconcile and just be like yeah I really need to be like fully faith based like I
Yes.
have limits to my mind and
Yes.
I'm gonna throw
You need
myself
grace.
into faith. Yeah,
Full
I
faith
was
and
like I
grace.
right, yes, I yeah, into grace you say.
Yes, because like if I didn't have full faith and grace in like that of all of this, right? Like
Hmm.
honestly, like I put my life together entirely on faith. Um, like I met my wife when we were 14, and I was like, I'm gonna marry this girl, and we had ups and downs. We broke up a bunch in high school, and it's like I never stopped having faith in that. And if I did, we wouldn't have gotten married. You know what I mean? Like if I didn't have an absolute 100% like a faith that was beyond like was like heavy at times, being like I doubting myself and whether or not this was something that I should be truly like this to put it all on faith, instead of reason. Is this reasonable? Everyone's telling you it's unreasonable to marry the girl you fell in love with at 14. It's very unreasonable. Not very reasonable advice to give. But I'm a faith-based guy, right? And faith has like I went through a pretty hard time in my 20s, I would say, like earlier 20s, like when I like still like trying to hold true to this and like in a world of like fucking reason. Everyone's very reasonable in this world, and I'm not reasonable at all. I'm a very unreasonable man. And I've only felt the benefits of that. Like it's only paid off for me. Everything that I put my faith into 100% has paid off for me. All of my reasonable calculations have failed. Everything I was reasonable about and tried to calculate and to like just like plan for and things, none of that worked. Only everything that I had faith in has turned out for me. That's my advice.
Yeah, no, that's I realize that most of the time of my learning and understanding is it came out of a sense of fear, and now I'm like I think that was the biggest problem is that because when you're a person that has anxiety and stupid little hit complexes that you kind of forget that you're feeding into something stupid because you need to like I need to have I need to have an understanding or a reason or I'm gonna fucking I gotta have it and it's rather than just like just you gotta have faith in it more than anything. It's like you don't have to have like all the answers. Like it's just gonna work
Well,
itself
it's like
out.
it's like Jesus says, "Who provides for the ravens?" And it's like at the end of the day, like I mean, I'm I'm a God fearing man here, but the Lord provides, man. Like I
Yes.
can't say otherwise. I'm like almost tearing up. I'm so fucking happy, like the Lord
Yeah.
has provided for me.
Yeah, and that's where yeah I've ultimately come to that this conclusion where it's like I'm just gonna sit and pray on it and that's all I'm gonna do. I'm like I put it in his hands. I'm like I got it. He's got it. He's got the answers. Like I'm in a fallen state, so
Yeah, it's
I
like
may be
because like you get
confused.
like reason is Satan, right? Like Satan tries to reason with Jesus, right? Like that is like there's always going to
Right.
be and like that's a necessary thing to have within yourself too. Is like the iron sharpens the iron. Like, you don't want to just completely eliminate this this struggle that with reason, but you know, you have to you have to make a friend of the unrighteous man, and as Jesus says, you have to use your reasoning power to buttress your faith.
Right, and that's yeah. That's one thing I guess I just need
Like,
to.
start reasoning yourself into reasons to have more faith. You know, like that's instead of more reasons to doubt.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I think I've finally gotten over a threshold and be like, yeah, I can't be doing this out of doubt. I got to be doing it out of faith and having
Yeah,
full.
it's like well, the thing is, right, like let's say you want to like make art or something. You want to write a book. Like, I wrote a book, right? There's no fucking why did I had faith that I could do it and that it would be good and that it would matter or be meaningful to other people in some way. There's no reason to think that. You know, I could come up with a reason to be like, well, I have like, you know, I've accumulated enough people like followers and like me, you know, maybe, and people will buy these books and maybe I can like but like ultimately it was just like I just had faith that I could do it and that I would do it, and then I did it. And I put it out there, and you know, it got mostly hate for a long time, and you know, that's how it goes. But like, it's not like but you know, it was like me thinking I should be reasonably expect some type of worldly success was a complete flaw on my part, a complete delusion on my end, which I've pretty much expunged at this point. I don't like, you know, I wanted to be a big deal or whatever. I wanted to, you know, I was like, oh, and then I'll get the book deal and I'll be sitting pretty and, you know, people will be interviewing me or whatever. But what I really wanted is this. This is all I really wanted. I want to be a little small. I want to scrape by. I want to fly under the radar, you know? That's what I really want. I want to keep it on the down low.
Yeah, you don't want to be a part of this world as far as it comes to fame or anything. It's ugh, no. It
Yeah,
sounds
no, it's
awful.
honestly the worst. Like, sometimes I wish I could go back to being nobody, but I think that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Because I'm having this kind of conversation with you, and I honestly think that it's like helpful.
Oh no, it utterly helpful, and I hate to sound like I always come to you in forms of like, oh, I need help, but I know that you're a
You're
man of
not the
faith,
only
and
one, dude. You're not the only one. Like, that's
no,
really like
yeah,
my
right,
job.
right.
That's like my job around here. Like, I come home and like all my boys are coming to me with all their problems, and I'm like, okay, this is what you're gonna do. Or like, you know, like that's like I've always been doing that. Even in like school, like when I was a little kid, like I would finish my work and I'd go around and help everyone else with theirs. Like, that's just what I'm like. Because it's not that hard. It's not as hard for me in some ways. I don't know. I think it comes from having like a little bit of a, people think I'm like a narcissist or whatever, but I think it comes from like having a lot of faith in myself. Like, I have so much faith in my abilities. I have too much faith sometimes in my abilities. Like, I feel like I can move mountains.
Yeah, and that's an okay thing to have. That's fine. I think that's awesome. I think a lot of people need that
It's
more
like
to push
Kanye.
themselves.
It's like why people don't like Kanye. Kanye has the same vibe where it's like why like you want Kanye is, we love Kanye because Kanye loves him. You know, I love Kanye the way Kanye loves Kanye.
Exactly. All right, I gotta head out. I gotta do some
All right,
stuff. It was
man.
nice
Well, this was
talking
a
to you,
good
man.
one. This was a good one. Thanks
Yeah,
for coming on. Whoop whoop. Have a good one.
absolutely. Whoop whoop.
All right, we got D with the Afro Peter Griffin, the Afro Peter Griffin Abbey, very niche. All right, D, what's up, D?
Myself.
The will of D. What's up, man?
Hey man, congrats on the wedding, by the way. Um,
Thank you, thank you.
yeah. Anyway, I was just I just may be a little bit long-winded, so I apologize beforehand because I have like 3 questions or so, if that's all right.
Yeah, if we could go one at a time, that would probably be easier for me. But yeah.
Yeah, just one at a time. So the first one is are you gonna upload the like archive of these episodes? Like, because there's like been like
Yeah.
10 spaces in the past like 2 months, and they're not on like Patreon. So like really hard to
So
look for.
this week I'm gonna try to like just like make minimal edits on them, kind of package them together and like release them sort of like the chronology of them coming out, because like I've just been too busy to like do that stuff, but I have time this week, so like this will be like the last bookend on probably like a trilogy of episodes that'll drop like really fast. If
Okay,
that
cool.
makes sense.
Cool. That's awesome. And then, what do you think about the connection between William Blake and Hermeticism, like Bruno, Nietzsche, those types?
Oh, I mean,
Like the
Hermeticism well, everything's connected to Hermeticism. Like, it's not just Blake, but it's like Hermeticism was like completely altered the entire world. You know what I mean? Where it's like they have even inside the Vatican they've got frescoes of Hermes Trismegistus because he was considered a contemporary of Moses by like the official record of like the collective understanding of history for a long time. So it's like everything's been influenced by Hermeticism.
okay, cool. Yeah, yeah, and then the third thing is that I'm kind of taking a break from uni at the moment. Well, I'm actually going to take a break from uni from here on out. Well, maybe like a year or two because I just don't really like the mediocrity that like doing the work like quotations well requires. And I just wanted to know, what do you think I should do instead of that? Because I'm kind of
Do something productive. Fall in love. Go on an adventure. Go be in the world. Like university is really for being like it's like being in a monastery or in a cave or something.
yeah. It's just like everyone just rotates around the same subjects. But there's no actual progression. I just got sick of.
You'll get better conversations working with people. Like honestly, like you'll have more interesting conversations as a bartender than you will in university. That's my
Yeah, that's
advice.
awesome.
Get on the boat.
Also, what do you think about interdisciplinary schools? Because I'm actually kind of planning on going to one after like a short break. Because it's
I
like
have
I
no
just want something
idea,
that's
bro.
like,
You guys get free? Do you guys
yeah,
get do you get like stipends and shit to go to school? I know the American situation where it's like going to school, like if you're not getting it like fully paid for, you're getting pretty much screwed. So it's like I don't know how it is for you, but if they're gonna give you money to just hang out and do whatever you want, like keep doing it. But I don't know. I wouldn't go into debt for it.
nah. The thing was that like most of my like loans were like spent over like the COVID period, and then I had like a weird roommate issue with that. So it's like I think I may have to like get a job for a bit and work a little bit of money up, then do like interdisciplinary thing.
Honestly, like working is not that bad. I think I might get a part time job just because I miss hanging out with people. So I don't know. It's not that bad, make enough money to like, survive and, make some friends and, it doesn't cost that much to have fun these days, right? You got YouTube and you got,
Yeah,
4X and Modelo. What else do you need?
yeah, yeah. You're right. Thanks, man.
Yeah, for sure. All right, man.
See ya.
And we got cash money. Cash
Yo,
money.
congrats on getting married, bro.
Thanks, man. Thanks. Well, it's like, I've been legally married, but I got the ring on now. I got bling. I feel swagged out with my wedding ring on now.
Got the drip now.
Yeah, I got the drip now.
Bruh, I was scrolling on Twitter and I saw Hunter Biden, and I just been thinking like I remember before, like when I was in middle school, like laughing at the Illuminati stuff and like, oh, the celebrities are controlled. But when you see the child stars, Hollywood, and then Hunter Biden's laptop, I'm like, what is the price of like being rich, like spiritually? What's the cost of that? 'Cause
Well, what did Jesus say?
I don't know. I'm still reading.
Well, he said it's harder for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven than for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle.
Yeah, I can see why, man. It's like,
You're not supposed to collect all this shit. If you storing up your treasure on earth, then you'll have none in heaven.
yeah, it just doesn't. And when I was talking about infinity, I was just thinking like, I think I understand the Buddhist concept of like living in the moment because like it's infinite in a sense. Like, why even? It's not that like limit yourself, like not the limits to growth shit, but it's like if you can't reach beyond your bounds and you try, then that's okay. You could just
Well, it's sort of like if you can't see heaven, if you can't see infinity in the palm of your hand, then where will you see it? Like what you know what I mean? Like if you can't, I always think of like J.D. Salinger stories, like Franny and Zoe always knock me off my ass. I still love that book, but there's a great part where Zoe's telling Franny, he's like, "Do you not see that this cup of chicken noodle soup is a consecrated fucking cup of soup? That this is like a holy thing. That like this someone has made this soup for you." To like eat it. This is like a sacrament. You know, you don't have to do all this like fancy idolatrous like ceremonial shit. Like everything you do is like a religious action in that sense or whatever, you know? Just being alive is a psychedelic experience. If you
It
appreciate,
is.
if you're looking at it right.
If you
I'm looking at this
appreciate it.
huge fucking spider right now, by the way. Massive fucking spider on this
You
spider web
know,
that's hanging right in front of me.
spiders don't bother me. I like spiders.
Me
They
too. They
protect me
really
from
scare
all the
my
other
wife though.
bugs.
That's what I
Yeah,
try to tell my wife, but she does not like spiders. She
like
don't like them at all.
spiders are some of the most chillest creatures you'll see on this planet. They just sit there and do nothing.
Yeah, and
Honestly.
they eat all the fucking mosquitoes who bite my ankles. Like this is my
Right?
homie.
They get rid of the roaches that that invade my home. But yeah, it's like I've been okay, so I've been looking into the psychedelic community and them people are weird to me. Like for it seems like they don't appreciate time on Earth at all.
Yeah.
And I did try shrooms before, but honestly, I didn't try a high ass dosage. I did 175. But like afterwards, I'm like, okay, if they're saying the same thing of feeling like more love and appreciation for things, why must you like keep tripping and like just escape the Earth itself, right? Like
Well,
I'm
I
starting
think
to see beauty
so.
in everything.
Yeah, that's all. Like when, like I forget who said that. You know, one of the site guys back in the day. Maybe it was Alan Watts. Maybe it was McKenna. I don't know. But it was one of the only good things he said about it, which is like if you get the message, pick up the phone. You know, and he eventually, I think it was to McKenna actually, and he was like really into these psychs, and then eventually he stopped doing them because it starts to turn. You know, if you start doing these all the time, all of a sudden, like you're not like you're not thinking like, oh, I love everything anymore. You're like those like Silicon Valley guys going out to like the ayahuasca woods and then being like like inventing a new form of blockchain slavery and thinking that you freed mankind. You know, I think this is like it goes really far back. I've been reading this really long. It's like a 1,000 page book, I think, on the history of Esalen, which is this like this. If you look into Esalen, it's like very important institution in the 20th century, especially for psychedelics. But that's like where all of these guys hang out in Big Sur, California. It's still a big thing right now. Still a big deal, Esalen. And it was describing just like the origins of this whole like new age cosmology. You've got like Aldous Huxley and stuff, and all these guys are like reading William Blake and like the Upanishads and like the Mahabharata and like Christian esoteric literature and stuff like that. So they're getting trained on all of this stuff first, and then they start doing mushrooms, and they're like like they then start to see like how they're interpreting the world from like reading Blake and like immediately available to them, where it's like, oh, I really do see infinity in the palm of my hand now. You know what I mean? And so they start to describe this as like a kind of empirical metaphysics, right? Where it's like, well, when you're on mushrooms, you're seeing how things actually are, right? But they didn't take into account that the real psychedelic substances that they had used that primed them for all of these sorts of ideas were the books they read. That all of these people were really well read, like kind of bohemian art type people who are like obsessed with like William Blake poems and like Walt Whitman and like all of this like transcendentalist literature and stuff. And so like they've already primed their minds with this hermeneutic developed from like the greatest scripture and literature in like the world, right? And then they do these mushrooms and they're like, wow, I see the beauty in the world, and like I see like I get it or whatever. But then they popularize these things instead of the books, right? Now they're not popular. They're like, okay, you don't have to read the books. You can just take the mushrooms. You don't have to know. You don't have to know. Like, have William Blake poems memorized. Like, be reading William Blake poems on mushrooms to each other or whatever, or like reading Finnegan's Wake on LSD to each other or whatever. Like these people were doing. Literally, that's how like where it all starts, right? If you're talking about like Kerouac reading Goethe and doing mushrooms, you know what I'm saying? That's a fucking vibe. That's a fucking vibe. Giving mushrooms to like a 17-year-old kid who thinks that the world is a video game. I don't know if that's exactly better. Maybe that one needs books. Maybe we
Yeah,
should go
that
back to
one
that
needs a
book, the
book.
books first. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like they were very irresponsible in that way, but I think they were like trying to like push back against this idea that like, literature was this purely abstract thing. And they're like, no, like we're feeling literature. Like when I'm on mushrooms, I am literature. You know what I mean? Like, that's like what they were trying to say. But then we get like, dialectically, it sort of inverts. And now it's like, okay, you don't need to read books just through mushrooms. And it's like, well, maybe that's not the right way to do things. They were like, yeah, if you can get the beatific vision of like Dante at the Empyrean just by taking a mushroom randomly, I don't know if that's really how it works. But that's how it was presented to a whole generation. And instead of reading Dante, they just like they don't tell you to read Dante anymore, Dante's more psychedelic than any acid trip you'll take, unless you've read Dante first and then you do acid, and you'll be like, "Holy shit, Dante was so right," and that's all you'll realize. All right, Mage. I think you lost his connection, but I think I got to say what I wanted to say on that subject. But Mage, what's up? Mage, you gotta tell me. Do you know about this anime, the Index? Do you know about the anime about it's like a certain magical index or something?
Yeah, dude. I have copies of Railgun on my bookshelf right now because I really liked that when I was like 13. He just punches women in the face. It's great.
Well, I'm talking about the one where it's like they have like the church called like Necessarius, like, and they're like the Rosicrucians.
Yeah. No. They're all. It's all like they're all like a series where like the Railgun one follows like the chick, and then Index follows the guy, and basically like they both run on the same like timeline, so you just get like different perspectives of the same events, and all of the characters show up in the different like versions of it.
Iterations.
Yeah,
that's cool.
It is cool. I haven't. I watched like the first season of Index a few years ago. Index is nice. It's really fun.
That's cool. That's cool. I found out about this last night. I don't know how. I was stumbling around on the internet, and I think I saw a screenshot of it, and I was like, "Is that a Rose Cross?" And I was like, "Holy shit!"
Oh, I didn't know it had
Japanese
that.
love that
I didn't
stuff.
know it had that stuff. I mean, when I was watching it, I was like, not. I didn't know about any of this shit.
Yeah, no, they have like the group that they're in, like it's like the girl named Index has like the index of prohibited literature in the Catholic Church like memorized.
Yeah.
And she works with the church
awesome.
inside of the Church of England. It's like the sub church inside of the Church of England, and they're like the Rosicrucians, literally.
That's amazing. I didn't realize that that's what it was because I was watching it.
Yeah, there's like a girl named like Cromwell in it or something. I gotta read it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, no, I just I haven't touched that stuff in a while. I'm looking at it on my bookshelf right now, though. It's right,
cool.
It's right next
I was just wanted to know
Jerusalem.
Yeah, beautiful. I mean, you're my anime guy, so you know, I had to ask.
No, I'm glad. The opening theme to the girl version from the Certain Scientific Railgun, that was like a really popular like meme song basically in the in like the early 2000s and 2010s. But it was like meme song on like Nico Nico, so it was like more popular in Japan and stuff.
Cool, interesting. All right.
Yeah.
How's your life been, man?
It's been all right. I'm doing well. I've been going out with some friends more. It's been good. I went to the bookstore over the weekend and I got this like really nice little book called like, what is it? Allegory of the Fairy Queen, and I was like talking up the bookshop owner lady, and she was like, "Oh, that's so nice. The Fairy Queen is so cool."
That's cool. She definitely hasn't read it.
Yeah, I mean, no, she was like quoting it and shit. I don't know. She seemed like,
oh really? That's sick.
But she was nice. She seemed really nice, and then we were like talking about Finnegan's Wake. She was a really nice lady. And then I was up at a bookstore in Santa Barbara like 2 weekends ago, and I don't know, the guy was just telling me, he's like, "Yeah, I read Finnegan's Wake on my phone while I'm at the bank." And I'm like, "That's so sick, man." And he, it was just like this old man, and I was explaining One Piece to him, and he was like writing it down very earnestly.
That's so. I want like this is all I want to do in the world is to be one of the dominoes in this chain.
Yeah, I mean it's really great. It's fun to just go to bookstores and talk up the owners and be and be like the
be a citizen,
so they give you free shit.
Yeah, I like you could the amount of like people call it like social engineering, like cynically or whatever, but this is how I've lived my whole life. Like I've gotten on stage, like backstage at so many different things. I've gotten like free stuff all the time. But if you just like you're interesting and you chat people up and you make their day, like they'll make your day.
No, it's literally that simple. I got like such a nice little stack of books from both of these places. They didn't give me a discount this time, but they give me discounts in the past. Oh, this place, it's like this place in Pasadena, and
I've bought every Wyndham Lewis book they have on their shelf. Because I
you have such a good Wyndham Lewis collection.
I really do. I was reading some of it last night actually. Which finally I need to do that. But yeah, because I've been reading McLuhan stuff. And I was reading like Counterblast and shit.
Oh hell yes,
Yeah. I've been having a good time. I don't know. I was reading. I was like just standing like next to all my books last night. I was reading the Songs of Experience. And I was brought to my knees, man. It's incredible. I don't know. Yeah.
Dude, I wanted to run something by you because we always have the conversation about ice cream flavors, and I forgot about some of my favorite New England ones until I was out and at the shops. For instance, do you know what Purple Cow ice cream is?
No, what is that?
Google it right now. I can't explain it, but you have to read the definition of it. But it's like it has a bunch of different names. Like sometimes they call it like Maine Black Bear, and other stuff like that. But it's like a completely like New England style flavor. It's like blackberry kind of ice cream.
Oh, black raspberry chocolate chip. Oh, okay. So here's the thing. This is the equivalent of my favorite Ben and Jerry's flavor that they discontinued.
Yeah. They did it. What I'm saying is that's like an old Vermont flavor. You know what I'm saying?
No, I know that, which makes sense. Like I'm so mad. It was called That's My Jam. That's what the flavor was called.
Yeah.
Because it had pillar. It had a fucking pillar of raspberry jelly in the middle of it, and it was like raspberry chocolate chip ice cream on one side, and then it was what is it called? Just regular chocolate on the other side, and it created like a little yin yang. It was great.
Oh man, yeah, dude. There's so many of these little. My favorite places in the entire world are these little stands where you can get fried seafood. You can get like fried clams, like fried clam strips or like a lobster roll, and then they just have a huge ice cream menu, just a massive fucking ice cream menu, and you can get like a root beer float. That's my favorite place in the world.
They're like historically in LA used to be like drive-through dairies, and you would just get ice cream there, but those are all gone. There's 2 blocks from me, and it's just a shack where homeless people jerk off. I don't.
Dude, like Vermont is like an ice cream economy. Like every store has ice cream. Every store has ice cream. Like every stop, there's ice cream literally everywhere. It's just an ice cream economy.
That's amazing. I don't know, all the
it's the land of milk and honey.
The Wignats want to tell me that it's that it's some sort of ethno state, but you're really selling it to me in words I
well, it is. It is, but do you know what that means? That means there's rainbow flags and Ukraine flags everywhere, and it's super expensive to buy property.
Dude, this is what I would used to say about Portland. This is exactly what I said about Portland. I said if you see a pride flag, you're in a white neighborhood.
It's all farmers markets. There's like all farmers markets, organic produce.
It sounds
crunchy granola.
It sounds incredible. You know I love all these things.
I know, but that's what's funny to me is that that's all these people they actually hate white people in the whitest sense of whiteness.
Yeah.
Because that's what it ultimately is, where they're just can we all just chill and we got these cute folksy used bookstores, you know what I mean? And it's that's really what it. Then they're they hate that, but it's they all want to be it's so funny to me. Because they have this total anxiety about it.
Well, and they hate the grocery store. They're we need to be farmsteading, and it's kind I mean maybe, but isn't it kind of gay to hate the grocery store? I mean the grocery store is beautiful.
Yeah.
I saw you talking about fucking maple ice cream, dude, and I'm really mad about it.
Dude, maple soft serve.
Fuck you.
Soft serve.
Fuck you, dude. It's there's have you had Strauss ice cream in California?
No, I haven't.
It's one of the good California ice cream people, and they have a maple flavor, and it's not at fucking any of the grocery stores. And I was literally on Thursday night, I was seething to the Whole Foods guy, and I was I'm getting the coffee ice cream right now, but if they had the maple ice cream, well, we'd really be having a good time tonight.
We'd be cooking with gas.
Yeah.
Well, dude, there's maple everything here. Everything's maple. There's maple candies, maple coffee, maple everything. It's like the flavor of New England is like maple.
So good.
Yeah, it's true. I had some maple syrup this morning. You know, my daily ration of maple syrup and apple cider vinegar.
Oh, that's good. See, you know, these people doing the Ray Pete carrot salad, they don't know about the maple
the switchel, the Yankee switchel.
Yeah.
Old school Gatorade, my dude. Yeah.
For a while I had like just a jug of maple syrup at my desk, and I would like pour it on my like, you know, the like space between your like thumb and your like index finger if you like close your fist.
Yeah.
I would just like put it on there, and I would like you know, before it like dripped, I would like put it all in my mouth.
You're, like doing a line of maple syrup. I'm imagining you with like a little Coke spoon, but for maple syrup. That's beautiful.
I had like, you know, I had like a really deep because I did this with honey too for a while. I had a phase of doing the exact same thing with honey, and I had like a tablespoon, like a really deep tablespoon, and I would just pour like super thick honey into it, and then I would just like suck on the spoon. I don't.
Oh, it's like the honey sticks, like the little honey sticks.
Yeah.
Like yeah.
I was at the farmer's market yesterday, and I bought some honey sticks, and you know, I grabbed the blue one because it was blue, and I was like, "Oh, that's funny," and it tasted awful, and they had a pina colada one, and it looked like cum.
Yeah, it's kind of gross. I'll go with the blueberry one though. Blueberry. I like the wild berry honey. You see yogurt. This is a delightful thing. It's like you just get some granola, some fresh yogurt on there, some honey, and some berries. And that's all you need.
It's really that simple. I mean, the what is it called? I don't know. I love all that stuff. It's so lovely.
All right. Well, it's been nice catching up with you, Mage. I'll talk to you soon. I'm going to move on to the next one, though.
Yeah, I got to get to work. I was neglecting
all right, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Talk to you later, man.
All right. Get your last requests in, guys, because I'm gonna go through the queue, and then I think I'm gonna be done for the day. Oh, it's so nice. So nice. Got a nice breeze right now coming through on the porch. My rocking chair. Ugh. All right. What's up?
Jesus.
Howdy, dude. What's up, man?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you. I hear you. I hear you, dude.
Okay. All right. What's up? What's up? Congratulations on the marriage, man.
Thank you.
I was listening earlier, and the conversation about God, Kanye, and psychedelics had me thinking. Particularly, I like my favorite thing is that if you love Kanye, you love yourself, and it's so interesting because the response to Kanye is always projection, generally that seems to be rooted in one's own inauthenticity, and it's about crucifixion. I mean, this is like he is a sort of prototypical scapegoat in a way, and I think all people who are in his position, someone like you, for example, is also in that position, and I'm curious about how, like, as potential Christ-conscious bearing individuals, how do we spread the light while also not being extinguished for the things that we do?
Well, we're gonna be extinguished, and you know that's how it is. You gotta where our job is to suffer for other people. Okay. Really, I mean, you know, that's what it is.
It's something that I have kind of become accustomed to. I always, as a kid, I would say I was well liked, but also sort of would rub people the wrong way, and I think that has to do with delivery. But it's an interesting position to be in. I'm in terms of psychedelics and like reaching, you know, like spirituality through there. I think there's interesting conversations about like these fucking tech people summoning demons, which I think they are because of their own.
Well, it's like, really, it's like we should be more worried. We should be less worried about what drugs they're taking, more worried about what books they're reading. Frankly, in my opinion, you know, because imagine like you got a guy who's like his like big reading of the year is like that like
Yovel
the guy
or
at
some
the
shit like that.
Yeah, I was about
Yeah.
to say, I forgot his name, but you guessed it right off the
Yes.
tip of my tongue.
Yeah.
Like that, and like the subtle art of not giving a fuck, or like 5 habits for ultra success maxing. And it's like those guys
Jesus.
I'm worried. Yeah, they summon the demons by reading those books like way earlier. You know, all they're doing is reconfirming themselves. Like all psychedelics really do is create like massive cases of confirmation bias for yourself, where you end up like hearing what you would have wanted to hear and seeing what you would have like what your mind is already seeing. Like you're just seeing how you already see things. Like all it's doing is like taking the veil away from your a level of your self-consciousness, such that like your own thoughts start to seem weird or alien to you, but they're already the thoughts you already have. You know what I mean? So it's like if you have good thoughts, you know, they always say set and setting. But if you're like, wow, like if I took psychedelics today, I would just be like,
Right.
wow, what a beautiful fucking day. Like, look at this butterfly. Oh my God, there's like 3
Right.
butterflies
Nothing
flying
would
over here.
happen, right?
And I'm like, wow, this is such a
Yeah.
beautiful world. But if I was like, you know, one of those fucking guys, and I'd be like, oh, am I being productive enough? Like, am I making, like, is my money going up or down? You know, and it's like, and then you're like, whoa, that's scary.
Right. Well, right. They all
Whatever.
use it to sort of optimize their performance at work. Like they're all like,
Yeah.
yeah, let's microdose so we can increase minor percentages of
ROIs.
engagement. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's well, I can tell you this. So my first experience with psychedelics was at UC Santa Cruz when I was a freshman in 2011, and it didn't go well. I mean, it did initially.
I mean,
until
how
I
were your
did.
thoughts before that? You know what I'm saying? Like, you probably weren't feeling too well before that, right?
Well, I experienced psychosis. I thought I was Harry Potter. I went too far through, bro. I had to end up. I have been arrested once in my life, and I never went to jail. They took me to the hospital, which is like
Nice. That's
something.
good, at least.
Well, you know, but it was like awful, and it was kind of like my origin story in that. What happens when you break through and have a manic episode is you are essentially living as like someone who has a spirit without a house that is submitting to God. You experience yourself as God, and you know, this is the whole neo-pagan. I mean, this is what really brought me closer to God, and also you and Kanye single-handedly have really like made how to live through faith and how to let reason shed away and to live through instinct and let that be like the light's voice, but to always submit to the Supreme Lord. Because the issue is when you start to engage in these neo-pagan sort of ideologies of like, I am like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know
that's
exactly
where the
what you
trouble
mean.
starts. And
Yeah,
that
it's
was
when
the
you go
trouble
like,
for me.
there is no higher power than my ego, or like there's no higher power than my will. That's the danger.
And that is Satan's ultimate folly, is his reason. Just like you said earlier, like he's trying to reason with Jesus, and which is impossible.
Yeah, exactly. Jesus is an unreasonable man. He's asking way too much.
Yeah, so I've experienced like 3 sort of episodes like that over the past like 10 years, and the final one was last year, in my view. And it was at that point, to make a reference to one of the earlier listeners about sort of shedding reason and like walking in faith. I was so broken, dude. I was so crippled. I was so devastated by how I had fucked up yet again. And it was brought on by just like excessive weed use, but I'm sure. But it was just like I was so broken, and I would have these prayer sessions where I would just, you know, so I write, I journal, so I'm very good at sort of articulating my feelings, but I had never done it towards God, right?
Yeah.
This is the first time I was like, I'm so broken, let me submit and get on my knees and just like speak to God. And I would bawl, like I was crying. I would like, it was like the most, like no therapy, no conversation could ever elicit this type of response from me. I was like sitting there, kneeling in silence, saying like, I don't know what I'm doing. I thought I was doing the right thing.
I thought,
dude, I was like, how could I'm living at my parents' house. Like, I had these aspirations of being like a writer. I'm not even, I mean, I have my own product, but I'm not close. What am I doing? Like, am I just fundamentally an idiot and a stupid person and like a failure forever? You know? This was what I was facing, dude. It was the abyss. And I had no other choice. and so I prayed. I prayed for a job. I prayed for like a very specific type of job. I prayed for just relief. And this was around the time Donda came out. So it coincided with like Kanye's attempt to sort of get everybody out of the fallen state, which is a crucial thing to sort of understand, is that we are in the fallen state, and these people's ego doesn't allow them to see that. So there's no ability to humble yourself before the Lord, to know
you
that
can't make other people do that either.
Yeah, so it was like
you can only invite them to do it, but
and I think it requires some sort of, you have to like some major cry. I mean, for me, it was like there literally is no option. Like I'm on these meds. I'm like
it's like
literally.
It's like Job, you know. It's like you have to lose. You have to be like at the end. You have to lose it all in a way. You have to be at the end of the rope, you know.
Okay, so cut to a year later. I have exactly the job that I wanted. My life has never been better, and everything that I experienced in the past 10 years suddenly is like makes utter complete sense. Like everything, it's like,
and you're like kind of thankful that it even happened because it got you to put yourself together.
I cry almost like 2 or 3 times a week thinking about like just sitting in the Lord's grace. Like I have discovered both the fragility of my life, how perilously close I was to being some fucking burnout in my hometown. Which, that's not like a bad thing, but it happens to plenty of people. But just being like a failure and not being happy with myself and probably harming myself or like really, destroying my family.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, this is what I was thinking about. Like, am I going to destroy my family, my parents who love me, my siblings, like my friends? Am I just going to be like, what am I going to do? And so now that I'm on the other side, I realize like how it was so tenuous, and literally the only thing that got me out was God's grace, mercy, and just
absolutely the Nomos of grace, my friend, for sure. That's all. All right, man. Well, thanks for coming on. I want to get through the rest of them, but that was beautiful.
All right, later,
and
man.
I agree 100%, 300% with all of them.
Thanks, man. Thank you for helping.
Right.
Later.
For sure. Have a good one, man.
You too.
All right, Muji. What up, Muji?
Oh, hold on 1 second, Logo. What's up? Congrats
up?
on
Thank you.
on the pregnancy, on getting married, and all that stuff. It's always good to hear.
Yeah, big life stuff.
How
are you doing?
I am doing well. I just went out for a run like a couple hours ago. I wake up like around 4 a.m. like every day, and then like that's just like something my circadian rhythm does.
That's nice, dude. I'm getting closer to that. I've been getting up at like 6, but I would love to be a guy who wakes up that early.
Yeah,
so I could get so much done.
Yeah, my body because that's the thing is like I actually go to sleep like around 12, so it kind of screws me up. But like I what I'll usually do is, especially like in the summer because it's so hot around here, like I'll do like a siesta that's like 6 hours after I wake up in the morning, do a couple things, go out for a run. And then
that's actually pretty normal. That's actually like old school sleeping style, like the diurnal like sleep phasing or whatever.
Yeah.
That seems chill.
Yeah. So like I'll write like poetry in the morning. I'll work on my book, and then I'll make a few tweets, and then I go to sleep until like 4 p.m. or 5 p.m.
Nice. I like that. That's cool. Yeah, you get to miss the hot part. Get up for like the beginning of sunset almost. That's nice.
Yeah. It kind of screws me up though, because I feel like I could be doing more. I could be working more on stuff during the day, because like whenever it's like around 7 p.m. I just feel like going to get some wine, and then just chilling in front of my computer for a minute.
Yeah. I know what you mean. Anything in particular you want to talk about, or do you just want to vibe for a bit?
So actually, there's like several things. Like sometimes when I think about or I research like a particular topic, I see something and I'm like, I wonder what Logo has said about this. So like something in particular
Yep.
that I've been interested in lately is
I love it when people do that because you guys all light up my mentions of like old stuff, and I'm like, oh yeah, I did write a lot about that. Oh wow, that was great. Wow, that was so true. I like read my old threads because other people bring them back up. So I appreciate when people like you do that.
yeah. So I actually read Hardboiled Wonderland and The End of the World
Yeah.
last month, and it's been like the whole message and aesthetics of the story, like especially because I'm so interested in like Japanese culture. It really stuck with me because like there's like a common opinion that like pretty much every like Japanese intellectual or whatever who criticizes like Japanese modernity kind of talks about the same thing where like Japanese people are kind of living like in this Oedipal womb. Falstaff was talking about this back when he was posting about like Ava and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
there's this interview with Hideki Anno where he's like, Japanese men in their 30s are reading porn like on the train, and
Yeah, he's like they're all children.
yeah, like they're all adult children. And when I read Hardboiled Wonderland, like it really made me think about that, like just more in like an abstract sense, because the wall, the town in Hardboiled Wonderland is like the Oedipal womb, which is like this kind of fabrication uh, of like heaven, and there's like this kind of narrative that I have in my mind between like Fukuyama, Murakami, and Hideki Anno, where it's like uh, Fukuyama is like this. He's trying to put like the end of history, like this liberal end of history, on like a pedestal. Like for Murakami and Hideki Anno, it's like horrible. Like this town that
Yeah.
people are living in. But for but for Fukuyama, it's like heaven.
Well he wouldn't even. I don't know if he'd necessarily call it heaven, but he would, or like maybe he would, because that's as far as his eyes can see. But he would be like, well, it's the least bad of all possible things, reasonably. That's like how people defend that sort of thing, right? Well, they're like, okay, well, yeah, liberal democracy sucks, but it's the least bad, and it's the most reasonable out of all of the bad options.
Y- y-
So that's just like, it's like, okay, well, you can either live there or like in a worse hell. So aren't you going to choose little cozy like Oedipal like wall world? That's like his whole thing. It's like kind of like a whole I feel like that thing is like always trying to be like, well, I'm going to be the reasonable adult in the room, and it's like that's why we have to keep you all living as children, and then so that some of you can become like the reasonable adult in the room, like me, you know.
yeah,
Uh,
and they kind of like they have like this antipathy towards any sort of experimentation or like positive progress. They don't want to create anything new, which is like the irony of like the uh, uh of like this worldview. Like they kind of have like this aesthetics of like being an adult, but it's like they don't allow people to grow. They just keep them inside of this bubble of
Nostalgia.
nostalgia and post modernity.
Yep.
And like
Yeah. It's boomers on tricycles.
even in the town, it's kind of like this microcosm of like liberal positivism where everybody like works like one job. Like you have one job, like and this is
Yeah.
and that's like
You have one function.
and that's like the antithesis to like the Marxian idea of like the division of labor, because like the Marxian idea of like the division of labor is like we can get to like some point in the future where we don't have to all be doing one thing for the rest of our
One job.
lives.
Yeah.
We can be like those bourgeois liberals back in like the Enlightenment and antiquity and and the
Like
Renaissance.
to have like real
Yeah,
nobility, like a real
yeah, like
noble in that sense is like the guy who can do
yeah,
everything, who knows, or who can put his hand, like a jack of all
yeah.
trades.
Everyone can be a jack of all trades, and then there's like that expression where it's like jack of all trades, master of none, and I don't really believe that, because it's like Well, there was.
Well, I think that's kind of true too. It's like, why do we need masters?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
You
you're
know,
right about that.
like, what's
Actually,
wrong with being a shitty? I did a lot of shitty carpentry work for my wedding, right? Like, I made a lot of the decorations myself,
Mhm.
and like, you know, I could have had someone else make them. I could have bought, like, you know, prefabricated stuff, and maybe it would have been better. Maybe it would have even been cheaper in some ways.
But
Like, I'm not a master carpenter.
yeah.
But it means more to me that I got to do it.
Yeah, but that's another thing too. Is like the way that we view master in like Western society is different from the way that we view master in like Eastern society. Because like Eastern society, master has like a different connotation. It's not like somebody who
Yeah.
owns you. It's like somebody who teaches you, like a community, like a
Yeah, it's
communal
like
father.
sage. A sage,
Yeah, like a
yeah.
communal father. But we don't have communal fathers in in the West. We kind of have like this systematizing of community, which operates through kind of like the Catholic Church for most of
Yeah, pretty
Western
much.
history.
And they end up being, and they're like not fathers because they're explicitly not allowed to be
Yeah,
fathers, you know. In a real sense,
yeah.
they're mothers.
Yeah, it's like this like this the sage, this because like I actually grew up in a kung fu family, so you know we've always had this idea of like we've always had there's this my grandfather's grandmaster. We've always kind of seen him as like a communal father, and uh, my grandfather is Taoist and I am Taoist, and I've always had sort of like that conception of like someone I could perceive as like the wise old man, like the archetype of the wise old man, and I feel like that's an archetype that's not really present in Western history, and like
Oh, it's currently like illegal almost, you know?
yeah,
It's like the most hated thing. The notion that there could ever be, like, that you could learn anything from an old man, like, except for racism.
yeah,
You know, you just have to explain away their things, right? Like, you know, there's a big thing right now with that girl from Euphoria or whatever, like, took a picture with her parents, and like everyone's mad at her because her parents are, you know, conservatives. And it's like, what? Like, you like it's a straight up, like, it's like a total hatred of the notion of such a thing even existing. But on the other hand, you know, we've got the wise grandma. Wise grandma is the way bigger trope, right? Where it's like the communal mother. That's allowed. That's good. That's awesome. We got Hillary Clinton's gonna have ContraPoints on her podcast. That's cool. You know. I think you're right about that though. Yeah, I don't know. It's like, who are like the father figures supposed to be, like Jordan Peterson?
yeah. That's ridiculous too, because like I don't know. I feel like I feel like the figure that Jordan Peterson is trying to be is someone like Alan Watts. I don't know how you feel about Alan Watts, but like
Yeah, same. Yeah, I agree
the
with
way
Alan
that I
Watts.
see Alan Watts is like I look at him as like my grandpa, because like my grandpa is like his aesthetics is like Alan Watts. Like he's like a white guy who tries to be Chinese. Well,
Yeah.
he's not white.
Well,
He's
Alan
half
Watts is a
Mexican,
little
but
bit of a,
he looks kind of white.
yeah. I know what you
Yeah.
mean. I'm assuming you're in California because
Yes.
I know where it starts to bleed, and you're like, are you Latino or Chinese?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Exactly.
yeah. Oh man. Yeah, but Alan Watts was also like, he was like, I think he's all right, but you know, he like had like five wives, and you know, he called himself a degenerate all the time.
Yeah.
Like, he was like, you really shouldn't be taking life advice from me. Like, I'm not a good guy.
Yeah.
Which is actually probably the most wise thing he said. You know.
Yeah. That's the funny thing too. Is like my grandpa was the exact same way. Like he went through a lot in his life. He actually ended up wasting a lot of it, and you know he grew up reading a lot of Eastern literature, being into Eastern philosophy, practicing kung fu and stuff like that, and you know I've never I'm probably like the most functional person in a few generations because I haven't gotten into like a lot of trouble. My family actually used to be involved with organized crime back in like the
Yeah, that's not
yeah
surprising. Yeah, I was gonna ask
in
you.
like the early 20th century, and you know it's been a long while since then, and uh, everything has been kind of coming back to me, trying to think hard about things. And I didn't really get into philosophy till I was like 22, and my life since then has been like the cultivation of like my character as of now, and I've become like a totally different person than I was like in my teens. So the way that I view
Yeah,
everything conceptually is both inspired by the person that I think my grandpa that I think my grandpa would have liked to have been, and just being involved in the world and kind of taking everything in.
yeah, I know what you mean, man. I had my grandpa at the wedding, and we call him the king. We call him the king of Rhode
Hmm.
Island. So yeah, and like I want to be like him, but I also know like my grandpa wasn't a great guy either. You
Hmm.
know, like he was he had a pretty rough life, and he wasn't always a very nice man. But he got a lot better as he got older, and I feel like we've been trying to iterate on that. Like I feel like my dad will be an even better grandfather, and I can't wait to be an even better one. You know.
Yeah, yeah, because like my grandma and my grandpa have been divorced for a long time. She really hates him, especially for who he was when he was younger. But like, I guess like ontologically, I've always been able to relate to him, especially because he's so interested in Eastern culture. Like for him, it's China, and for me, it's Japan. And
Yeah.
like I don't know, like the whole obsession with like wisdom and everything. Like I know, like he, like practically, like in the practical sense, he hasn't always been like the wisest guy, but I've always appreciated his spirit at the very least, like the
Yeah.
spirit of being interested in wisdom, if not actually practicing it effectively.
Yeah. That's nice, man. I agree with you on that. My grandfather's like that too. Like he doesn't like he doesn't like present himself exactly as like trying to be like a hyper literate
Hmm.
person or whatever, but he could talk to you all day about like, great men and of American history, like he's like a presidential biographies and like baseball figures kind of guy, you know what I mean? Like he'll talk your ear off about like the virtue of Ted Williams, the baseball player. And for him that's like the way like a poet is to me.
Yeah, yeah, I get you. Yeah, I totally agree with that. My grandpa, like he like I said, like he spent most of his youth studying like Eastern philosophy and stuff like that. So he's like familiar with the Tao Te Ching and the Bhagavad Gita. He actually grew up in like that generation that like Beatlemania. He was a huge Beatles
Yeah, yeah,
fan,
yeah.
so I think that's kind of how he got introduced to Eastern cultures. That sort of superficial appreciation for Hinduism and Hindu philosophy, and I
Yeah.
think that turned into something else like uh, I do think like the sort of there's like there's kind of like a stereotypical like Westerner who's like into Eastern philosophy, but he's not really into Eastern philosophy. And then my grandpa, the way that my grandpa always conceptualized that, because we're Mexican, so we're Native American, and Native Americans are genetically related to East
Asian, yeah,
Asians.
East Asian.
And the way that when I mentioned something like that to him, he was just like, the white man does not understand the Asian mind. And
Well,
then
I feel like we're in the process now where where we become Easternized as they become Westernized, and like
yeah,
that's kind of the whole thing.
yeah, yeah,
It's like we've been trying to understand in the same way that they're trying to understand.
yeah, and
Like all of Japan is trying to understand the West, right? Like that's why they have to write these like anime like cosmologies about like the Catholic Church and stuff because they have to understand all of that now,
then
and we have to figure out the Tao Te Ching.
yeah, and it's like they also have like these their narratives are like a lot more like Homeric in nature, because like modernist literature, it's kind of like obsessed with like it's kind of more interested in like the simple things, and then like anime has like these grand narratives where there's like heroes and like epics and stuff like that, and they've had that
Yeah,
for quite a while now, and I feel like maybe that's what like I wrote about this earlier. Like I feel like maybe there's a part of that's missing from the West, and that's why like we have like dudes in like their 30s who are LARPing as Aeneas.
Yeah, I mean,
Like
I
with
think you're
Bab.
right about that. Yeah, yeah. I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Yeah, it's like in a weird way, like people are being westernized by it from the East now because we're kind of Easternized in the West, if
Hmm.
that makes sense. So it's
Yeah,
like people who are really into like Japan or like anime or stuff like that are more likely to be the kind of people who would read like Don Quixote or something in a kind of real sense.
yeah, and
Like ironically,
yeah,
it's kind of like all these like dialectical inversions.
yeah, and I think shit, what's his name? Kajev kind of talked about something like that. I think I read
Yeah,
something
the
once
Japanese. Yeah,
that he was talking about like how he was talking like he was referring to the distance between the USSR and the US, and he was talking about how like the European Union was like the synthesis of right, how the European Union would serve to be the synthesis of left and right Hegelianism, but I actually think China is more like that synthesis.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, like the funny thing is that Kajev doesn't write that much about China because I mean it's still like China was still like up in the air, you
Yeah,
know, for a while, and it's like they've developed so much so fast and like kind of low key, like not really like people in the West are like not interested in China at all, or like they have such a completely warped conception of things that like they think that it's like literally like 1984 there or something, you know,
hmm,
and it's like they haven't caught up with things, and it's going to be a massive surprise to them when they finally realize like what China has become. I mean, it was to me like I didn't. I used to be like a China I used to think the same things of China because you know it's just like imbued in you from all of the media everywhere in the West. It's like China's like this little. It's a huge mystery to Americans. And unfortunately, you know, you would like to think like when you clarify things, and it's like, well, no, they're not like this evil, terrible place. Actually, that people would want that to be true. You know, that they would want this other country to not be a hellhole that they imagine it to be, or like you know, it's like actually the Russians aren't orcs. You know, things like that. And
yeah,
it's like, oh, well, that's a relief. Thank God. Like it would be really bad if there was just this like people who were you know innately evil from birth or whatever. But thank God that's not true. But instead, they want it. They're like, no, they're definitely orcs. You know what I mean? It's like it's weird. It's like they know in some way that they have to hold on to that specter in order to not recognize like their own position.
Yeah, that's another thing I've talked about at length too. There's this sort of genealogy of like Babylon that leads to this general antipathy towards everything outside of like Rome, like Europe conceptualized as Rome, because you know like the Romans had like all of these conflicts with the Germanic tribes and the Huns, and they kind of viewed everything outside of their bubble as Oriental, and I feel like that has something to do with the negative attitudes towards Russians in China today, especially like in the way like there's that picture of Vladimir Putin as like Attila the Hun. I don't know if you've seen
Yeah,
that. Yeah, there's
yeah.
oh, the Russians and their Mongol horde. Like that's like a persisting narrative throughout
Well,
Western.
and it's because they also think that the Mongols were like just this evil, like you know, this evil, like you know, a Zerg rush army or something, you know, of like insects or something.
Yes.
And it's like no, like Attila the Hun was the good guy.
Yeah. And that's like the essence of Nazism. It's like the collectivist horde. That's how they view communism too. That's how they view communism too. It's like having a community, being connected, you know, familial relations, and like the closing of distance between uh, people, and in like an ontological sense, is like viewed negatively in this culture. Like there's also there's as much a fear of like there's as much a fear of like closeness as there is like as there's a fear of like distance from like an Oedipal subject, like because
Yeah,
like in the East, like let's say like there's like the Oedipus complex, and it's like, oh, you want to be like in the Oedipal womb forever, and then you exit the Oedipal womb, and then you're like in the abyss, and that like the abyss itself is like another Oedipal womb because you're living you're living your entire life in fear of closeness, and I feel like that's like
yeah.
that's like a really negative characteristic of individualism, where we all just kind of live in isolation instead of being connected and having a communal society. And like I feel like that's the primary antipathy towards communism. It's like they view communal society as just like being in an anthill without any individuality, and that's absolutely not true.
Well, it's kind of like, it's like all about like gatekeeping or something, where it's like, it's not like even, I feel like the whole idea of it's like being individualistic is kind of wrong. I feel like it's more like exclusive. Like what we like is
Mm-hmm.
like exclusivity. Like we like gangs. Like we like, are you in my gang? Like, no, your gang. Like I know my gang. Everyone in my gang are real people. But if you're not in my gang, even if we're in the same town, you're not in my gang. Like you're nobody to me. You know what I mean? Like even that,
Yeah.
like the idea of like you have, for instance, like even in these small towns that I'm from, this whole area, there's still little communities within the towns. There's little societies within the societies where it's like, oh no, we live in this neighborhood, and it's like you don't talk, like the kids from that neighborhood are like they're no good, you know. Like we have this, and it's like
Mm-hmm.
there's how many? It's not like we all go to one church. It's not like it was back in the day when there's a church in the center of town, which is also the town hall. Everyone goes to the same church. Everyone goes to the town hall. What do we teach at the church? We all decide that collectively. We all go there and decide how do we run this town? We all go there collectively. We all decide. Now it's like, okay, there's 5 different churches now, now there's like 7 different churches,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, that's more the model we have, where it's societies, like of a kind of it's fewness. I don't like, I kind of like to push back on this notion of the West as being individualistic, because I don't think it really is. I think it's more about the few. Like, and the real question is always between, because like everyone is individualistic in the sense of like, every culture admires like the one, or like, the great person, like the great cultural figure. The one
Mm-hmm.
is always going to be um, central, because
Yeah.
that's like the very idea of centrality is like the one. But it's really like the move between the few and the many is what it is. And people in America, they want to be in the few because they don't want to be in the many. They don't want to be like everyone else, like in the many, in this kind of blanket categorization of like I'm not like you, like no, I'm different, and then it's we're different. We selectively, small, diminutive, few, we the few. And that's even like Shakespeare, like we few, we band of brothers, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's like what, like us against the world, like us against the many.
Yeah, and that characteristic has been exaggerated by like the existence of the internet, like because we form like little tribes of people with like particular tastes or proclivities or
Yeah,
opinions or what have
movements.
you, and it
Yeah, movements.
yeah, movements, and then and we oh, this is also another thing that I realized, like we place a greater emphasis on like let's say the identity of difference than similarity. Like
Yeah,
that's the orientation of like our cognition, is like we place is like the question is like what is different versus like what is the same.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Being able to spot differences is like also sort of like it's sort of like entrepreneurial in the sense where it's like, how are you going to make your service different? You know what I mean? It's
Mm-hmm.
like you have to produce a difference to make a difference or something.
Yeah.
You're just like, well, I'm just kind of like and if you're like, well, I'm just kind of like, I'm kind of like just everyone else. I'm not trying to make a huge difference. I just want to be like everyone else. That's like, oh well, we say that's like individualistic or whatever. It's like, oh, well, you just lack probably like individual drive or something. But it's like, maybe you just lack the desire to be part of an exclusive club. Maybe you're just like a normal, like, I don't want to be in the country club. I don't really care if I get the invite to Bohemian Grove. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't need to be a part of the few, like, the select. The elect. That's really what it is. It's because our many was like the church, right? Like that was the many, and it all blew up.
Yeah.
So people are trying to put it back together, but I don't think that's how you can put it back together. Like putting it back together is in the Catholic Church is the wrong way about it. But that seems to be the move here. That seems to be the play. I feel like Catholicism is going to be a big force in the next generations, unfortunately, because it's like that's like our closest thing to a many. But really, it's low key a few thing because it's like no, we're Catholics, not like those evangelical fundies, et cetera, et cetera. You know, and it's like this is no, like we truly represent like everything. Like this is the real universality. We are the few true universalists.
Yeah. I think I had some thought on the like I think about stuff all the time, and sometimes like I'll talk about the Catholic Church or whatever on my Twitter. Uh, I don't know. I come from a Catholic background. I'm not just Mexican. Like my grandfather's Mexican, but he's on my mother's side of the family, which is mostly white. So I'm like more than half Mexican, but I also have a bunch of heritage from the different parts of Europe too. And
Yeah,
we
yeah.
come from all of our European background is Catholic. So I'm like Polish. I'm part Polish. I'm part Irish. I'm part Italian. I think I might be part Russian as well. And we have uh, we have like a Catholic background, but like pretty much all of most of my family actually now is not really Catholic anymore. We've all kind of adopted this attitude, like like they all believe in God, they just don't believe in the Catholic Church. Like they kind of have
Yeah.
their own intuitive understanding of God rather than relying on the church's primary narrative about the Bible, which is false.
When you get married, will you do it in a Catholic church?
Uh, Probably not.
Yeah, that's like the real question, I think, right? Like that's like what the
Yeah.
real question is. Because I was raised Catholic, like I went to a bunch of Catholic weddings in my family, but I didn't do that because I was like, that's not me, you know?
Yeah, I've never thought about like what kind of marriage like I'd have. I've always imagined myself as like getting married somewhere outside of the U.S. So and not in
Yeah,
like
that's a good idea.
yeah. So I've never like thought like oh I want to get married in a Catholic church. I just always thought like oh I'm gonna have like some wedding and uh, that's like cultural and not like being mediated by like this the globalist Catholic tradition.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because
Yeah, I got you.
Catholicism is sort of like this amalgam of different. It's like the globalism of Europe. It's like this
It really
amalgam
is.
of different European.
Well, it's not just that. It's America too, dude. We got the Jesuit president. We had the Jesuit Fauci. We got tons of Catholics on the Supreme Court. Like America has been effectively like brought back into the fold of the Catholic world order. I think in the 20th century, the CIA made that deal. Be like sort of like liberal Unitarians, if that makes sense. We're like, you know what, the Jesuits are kind of cool with us, like John Foster Dulles and those guys.
Yeah. I found the term for it. So Catholicism is. I thought of the term of a term that I like to use for it. So Catholicism is like the mystery meat of Europe. The mystery meat of like cultural Europe. It's like the assimilation into like the Roman identity.
The Roman Reich.
The Roman Reich. When you become Catholic, that's when you become a Roman.
Yeah.
The Roman
And then you're
citizen.
like a real citizen in the
Yeah.
kingdom of Augustines.
Yeah, rather than being like a citizen of the world and like the kingdom of Christ, you're you're uh you're being assimilated. You're like a Germanic tribesman, and you're being assimilated into the Roman Empire as a slave in the hierarchy,
Yeah, kind
in
of.
the infinite hierarchy.
Yeah, And you're like, if I do my works, I'll attain my freedom. I'll get my
Yeah.
freedom. I'll be a real freeman, and then you'll be a real proletarian, and that's a Roman proletarian. That makes sense.
Mhm.
All right, I've been talking to you for a bit, but it's been nice. I
Okay.
want to get these
Yeah. I
other
was
ones out.
actually gonna say bye, but thanks for the talk, Logo. It was good talking to you.
All right, peace, man.
All right, peace.
All right, we got Padraig. You've been patient, my friend. I shall reward your patience. Patience, I think, is the greatest virtue. I've been thinking about that too recently. How is it, Padraig? Padraig, how are you? Okay, he's gone. He was patient, but now he's gone. All right, Linus, you're up. You're up, Linus. You're up, Linus. Oh, I'll put you on to you, Patrick. Sorry. You disappeared for a sec. Whoever starts talking first wins.
Hey, how you doing? It's Linus. Or
Okay, I'll hold on.
It's Linus. All right. Sorry,
oh no.
Patrick. Patience.
I'll be real fast.
Patience, my
I
friend.
gotta run anyway.
All right, cool.
I miss good to talk. I've never been in one of these spaces with you. Cool. Congratulations on the wedding, man.
Thank you.
I like the idea that that's the most important sacrament. It kind of makes sense to me. And
the chemical wedding, man.
Yeah, and the chemical wedding symbolism definitely ties into the question I want to ask, because I missed probably the first few minutes of what you were saying about Matinee. I was so happy to be reminded of that fantastic movie, and what you were saying about it was bang on, but I wasn't sure how far you were going on the the idea that it's sort of basic to American culture, this idea of the special effects scare that we're then relieved that it's not real. So were you sort of interpreting that as being like the Cuban Missile Crisis? The crisis was like a bit of a scare, or are you sort of interpreting it as
the crisis is?
Sorry, go.
The crisis was manufactured
Right
on both ends,
right?
Right? Like that's how it is. Like we're manufactured. Like for instance, the Nancy Pelosi Taiwan crisis was manufactured on both ends, right?
Right. Yeah.
Where it's like, and ultimately neither side wants to shoot the shot. No one actually wants to drop the bombs, right? We all have to pretend that we're gonna do it because you can't let the fans down.
Well, and they don't. The way that technology works is by pretending you're going to use it. Otherwise, it doesn't work.
Exactly.
That's like part of the crucial operation of it. The software operation of it is essential. But
yeah, like imagine if in the WWE everyone was just like, actually, we're all just friends. Like all of this is fake, guys. Like we can just go home. Well, now there's no show anymore.
Yeah, now there's no high pressure system to. Anyway, yeah, but the thing is that the way that I see Matinee now, anyway, in more recent years, is that I think it's entirely possible that the bomb itself is just a big special effects gee whiz terror device that doesn't have any substance behind it. Like it could be just a deterrent ruse. Wait,
that's what Mao says. I mean, I'm not going to go on to the new. Well, Mao said that it's all a paper tiger. It's all a paper tiger.
That quote, yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like what's the like really? If you look at we're talking about Tokyo, like Nagasaki, Hiroshima. Actually, more people die with the standard fire bombs and the standard incendiary devices. Really, it's the spectacular image of the mushroom cloud itself is kind of what the real power of the bomb is.
Absolutely. It's like, yeah, we can bomb your city, but that doesn't give you one terrifying image to lock onto. Like this mushroom cloud makes it an angelic intervention almost.
Yeah. It seems like supernatural because it's like you've never seen that shape in nature before, right? Like whereas you see fires and it's like, yeah, fires, like, yeah, we know we've had fires for a long time, but it's like this is like a new type of fire, And so that's really like the spectacular image of it. That's why it still haunts people, and people are like more worried. Like everyone's like, we're on the brink of like nuclear war. I'm like, no, we're not. Like nuclear war is never going to happen. There's never going to be exchanges of nuclear devices.
Right.
We do way better. We do way more covert means of warfare today.
Yeah.
We do biowarfare. We do information.
We do mind war.
We do sabotage.
We do paradigm war. I mean, for me, you know, I could be wrong, but for me, the reason why I think there will never be an exchange of nuclear weapons is because I don't believe that that technology exists. I think it was a ruse, and it, you know, I guess it worked really well if it deterred war for all these years and it successfully
Well,
scared upstart.
I don't know.
But well, the thing is, okay,
I don't.
let me just say one quickly that you might find
I
interesting.
don't know about that.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, it's very dubious hypothesis. I am open to it, but one of the main reasons I'm open to it is because I'm a big McLuhan head, right? So for me, the ultimate circumstantial evidence in favor of a theory is if it makes formerly opaque McLuhan quotes suddenly make sense. And I'm telling you, man, McLuhan, every time he said something about the bomb, it sounds like he was saying it's fake. He said the bomb is electric software. He said the bomb is not a gimmick or a gadget. One of the most puzzling ones he said was, he said, oh yeah, the bomb is not a thing that has been inserted in the military establishment any more than automation was a thing that was inserted in the Industrial Revolution. But maybe the craziest one was when he said, once one atom bomb had been made, anyone could make one without stealing anyone else's know-how, which kind of really undermines the idea of nuclear secrets, because that's the whole idea of like, oh man, we'd love to make one of those bombs. We got to get into their files and steal the secret. And it's like, no, the secret is you just say you have one of the bombs, or you fake up some film. Anyway, the point is, I could be wrong. The point is, I'm
not. I'm doing. Imagine me like tilting my head and doing a little bit of a nod, like, okay, all right, all right.
Right.
I think he was saying it in the same sort of way that I would say it's a bit of a ruse, where it's like, okay, like maybe like you could do like a whole film demonstration of it, but then you could also just like make one of it. You make them and you can make a big bomb. I don't think making a nuclear bomb is like impossible.
Right.
I don't think it's like it's an unbelievable thing. But really, what I think he's saying is that like the notion that this is going to be like how conventional warfare works, like that's the real ruse. The idea that like this is like it has more utility in that ruse like spectacular sense than it has as like a practical divisive warfare.
Right. Definitely.
So I think that's really what he was trying to say, where it's really like it's more useful as propaganda than it is as an actual like weapon.
I mean, it's incredibly
like the real best weapon is like the plague.
It's really
the best
pure
real weapon is the plague.
Yes, very true. Yes. I kind of think of the bomb as pure propaganda because it's just like you just show a film of it and that's like that just terrifies people. That's it. You don't need to narrate that.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think that's more what he's saying. Where like you don't need to we don't need to go like have like like imagine like Yellowstone National Park, but you're in like Los Alamos in New Mexico or whatever. And it's like, yep, we got to bring busloads of people out to see the nuclear bomb drop of today, so we all can see it in person and know that it's real. It's like, well, no, you just need the film and like
I mean,
you just need the film of it.
It's one of the other things that has given me pause is that when I was thinking about what great propaganda, just the image of it is, I realized why the hell haven't they blown off just one more to film in proper IMAX HD to make the ultimate nuclear terror propaganda film. That was another thing. I'm like, if they had these bombs, they would have released an IMAX HD gorgeous, like a Twin Peaks episode 8 style luxury visuals of the mushroom.
That would cost a lot of money.
Yes, it would.
That would cost a lot of money, and it wouldn't.
They're
usually
any additional to spend money on their military propaganda.
No. But think about it. That wouldn't give them any additional propaganda power than the fact that we already have videos of the bomb. Like, why would the HD video be a value add? Like, that's diminishing returns.
Yeah, it would silence critics like me. Perhaps is probably the only value.
Yeah, but there's not that many of you. Yeah. There's not that many of you.
It would make a lot of people, soy face at the like, oh God, look at we are so powerful. But it's just
yeah, but they do that now. They're doing that with they do that with just the Raytheon missiles now. Yeah. They'd rather do it for that because they want to sell.
Yeah, they want to sell. They can run off the assembly line many numbers of them. I gotta go, but I want to leave you with a little thought that comes back to the idea of Satan reasoning with Jesus. I like this idea of like if the nuclear bomb was fake, that it's this kind of thing like the idea that if you could deter war with a lie, with a big lie, It's a big lie. It's
Yeah.
terrible, and you're terrorizing people. It's a bad lie to tell them, but it's to deter war. Is it not your ethical duty to tell that lie if you can tell it?
No.
No,
it's not.
No, that's what I'm talking about. Reason. The problem with reason,
Yeah.
right? Ethical arguments
Absolutely.
are fucking dangerous. Anyway, I really got to run. But
No,
cheers.
Jesus said, yeah. Cheers, man. I'll just
Oh yeah,
say
sorry.
one more
No,
thing on that. No, it's all good. I'll say one more thing on that. Jesus says, "Drop the bomb, nuke, do it." That's what Mao says too. I'm gonna nuke the world. I came not to bring peace, but a nuke. All right, Patrick. I'm so sorry you've been waiting for so long, but you're up.
Oh, that's all right. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, I just had a few quick questions. Right, I was looking at one of your tweets here. Sorry for the noise. I'm working. Looking at some of your tweets there, and you recommended to somebody the 1611 translation of the KGB.
King James. Yeah.
Yeah, and what's your reasoning behind that? Like,
it's the most important poetically for the English language tradition. So if you're an English speaker and you want to read the greatest, most important book, singular edition of a book that influenced the most literature, that's it. It's that particular one.
Okay. And then I assume if I was reading your tweets right, you're still residing in the Commonwealth.
Yeah, I'm in the Commonwealth.
State. Yeah. I don't know if you've been in the city recently, because I imagine you'd be out west in where it's actually nice. But
I picked up my wife from the airport. That's the last time I was in the city. So,
well, then hopefully you missed out. I was going to ask if you've been down the Mass Ave area, where it's it's getting pretty rough down there. Like, I've seen some people say it's like Skid Row, but I don't think it's that bad. I've never been out that far west, but hoping for your thoughts on that. What do you think could be done around here? Because it's a joke. It's a nightmare. Go to Home Depot in the morning and people are plugging their toes. You know what I mean?
I'm fucking sick of Boston, man. I'm fucking sick of Boston. I want trains out west, and I want them now. I want them yesterday. I want them back. So that's all I care about. I'm a one-issue man here. I'm a one-issue man, and I want trains out in Western Mass. That's all I want. I'm sick of the big div. I'm sick of Boston. I'm so fucking sick of Boston siphoning all the funds and still running like shit. What a fucking shithole. At least it's better than New York. I'm not going to lie. I'd rather live in Boston than New York City. Fuck New York City to death. But I like Boston still. Yeah, I'm kind of a Worcester guy right now. You know?
It's just too far of a hike from where I'm working.
Yeah, I know. It's for you. But listen, if we had good trains, it would not be a hike at all. You could go out and you could see a Woo Sox game, my friend.
Yes. Did you see, I don't know the validity of it. I saw it only on Boston Twitter or something like that. But it was talking about how there is a federal investigation, Department of Transportation, on the MBTA, which would be fucking nice because, if you know,
we need that shit. Yeah, no, the graft is insane.
Especially considering the destruction of the big parking lot over the government center one. They fucked it up, and the whole thing almost collapsed a couple months ago. Like, even down to the train lines, the whole thing almost collapsed.
I'm not even fucking surprised, dude. I'm not even fucking surprised.
All right, that was really about my whole question. I'll let you get on to other people, boss.
Yeah, well, I'm saying we need the trains out here, dude. I want it to be easy as hell for you to be like, hey, I'll be like, hey, you want to go meet up in Worcester? And be like, sure, that's a 45-minute train for me. I'd be like, it's a 30-minute train for me, and we could go meet up in Worcester in an hour. That's how it
but
should
isn't
be.
Are you talking commuter rail? Because I believe commuter rail runs out that
No, we
far.
have commuter rail. I want the streetcars back, dude. I want the trains that go through all of the Western Mass towns that bring you to the hub towns, you know? Like, I want to extend that out. I want to extend that out to Springfield.
Trains.
Yeah, I want real trains. I want the old school 19th century train lines we used to have here. Dude, there's an abandoned train line. Like, I can see it through my fucking woods over here that used to run. So I could have done that back in the day, but not anymore.
Not anymore. All right, I'll let you get on with this.
All right. Thanks man.
For talking
Peace.
to me.
All right, I'm going to do you last two. We've got Carlito and Rick, and then I'm done for sure. All right. Carlito. What's up? Carlito, little Carl. What is up? I don't know you, so hopefully you got something interesting. What you got, Carlito? I'm going to give you like 20 seconds.
Oh, my mic was off.
There you go.
There we go.
Yeah, I
hey, what's up, Logo? Sorry about that, dude. I wanted to talk to you about. I wanted to ask you, like,
the disciples about acquiring faith, because I find like I got to you through you talk about like Marxism shit, but a lot of your spiritual stuff I found really fascinating and really like making me rethink a lot of things, because I grew up Jehovah's Witness, and I took it all really seriously. You know, my whole life was around my idea of being a Christian, and I studied the Bible a lot. And it was when I was like 24, I kind of looked at my life and what I was doing and what we were doing in the church, and I was like, this is not like, if Christ came down and established a kingdom today, it would not look anything like this, because it was all like very masturbatory, and intellectual, and just like putting on these church meetings, but not like talking about anything of substance, right? And certainly not doing anything of substance. And that took me out. And then I very quickly went from not being a witness anymore to just being an atheist, and I lost belief. But when I find you talking about these stories that I know and these texts that I know really well, like you pointing out to me that there's a lot of truth in the stories, but I still don't believe in like the materiality of it. Does that make sense?
So yeah, my AirPods died, so I got to do this the old-fashioned way and talking to my phone. But so you're in a state of doubt, my friend. You're a doubting Thomas,
Shit.
right? You're like, I will believe when I put my fingers in the stigmata, you know? Because you believed in the spectral image of Christ, right? You believed in that the spectral
No.
Christ that was like summoned for you. No, I'm saying in the Jehovah's Witness, right? Like you know what I'm saying? Like, and then you're like, okay, so this is like a story, and like now you can understand it in its abstraction, and you can pull stuff from that. But what you really got to get to is the dialectical sublation of those things, where you see that those are the same thing. You know, blessed is he who who believes without seeing.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. But do you think, like, I'd sent you a reply on a thread about like that's what Jesus is to me, or like that's what he said here is to me, and you're like, no, the Son of Man is real, and what he and he did what and said what the book says he did and said. And I'm like, well, I can't believe that yet, but I also don't know how important that is. Do you agree? Like,
I've been there. No, I've been there myself, where I'm like, well, you know, like, really, or is it like really? But over time, I don't know. How else do you explain how this person changed the entire world? How else is that even possible?
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. And there's definitely something to the way that I feel, and the way that my mind feels when I go like, well, Jesus didn't walk on water because that's silly. That reminds me of how many very like immature, childish rejections that everyone has about everything.
Yeah.
Where you go,
well, I
oh,
could give
we
you for
didn't
that
really
one.
walk on water because that's impossible, and it's science.
For that one, I might give you one of my interesting takes on that, which is kind of controversial.
Sure.
But what was Jesus' actual vocation? If you got to go back to like reading the Greek and understanding that Jesus is not like a Greek speaker, and he's a Galilean, so he's also like he's like from the north, right? And he's from like part of like basically the lost tribes of Israel, right? And so like the people in Judea don't really like him that much, because he's not from like their like holy line, you know. He's from like these sort of other peoples that are around them, but weren't like the privileged like tribes effectively.
Sure.
Like, so he is a sailor, okay? He's a tecton, right? So what is it if you were like, that guy can like, walk on water? He's got sea legs.
Yeah.
And none of the apostles have sea legs. They never go on boats. They never go anywhere. Most of them, you know, some of them are fishermen, but like, you know, but Peter's a tax collector.
Yeah.
So if they're saying he's walking on water, or it's like he can walk, it's like he can walk on water. It's like, how much of this is figurative language and how much of this is like a colloquial phrase?
Sure.
But they might not even truly like be understanding and translating correctly. Like for instance, the best example of this is a quote I used earlier, right? The camel through the eye of a needle. Do you think he really meant a camel? Like what is
No,
that image?
no, I think that there's like a lot of understanding around that, right? That that the eye of a needle doesn't mean what we think of an eye of a needle, right? That the eye of
Other
the
way
needle is
around.
the gate, right?
No. See, this is what's wrong in my opinion. That is what's wrong in my opinion. What I think, and this is that the camel is the camelon. It's a type of nautical rope. It is a very thick rope, and now the metaphor makes sense. You have a very thick rope, cannot make it through the eye of the needle. And because where's he making this metaphor? He's pointing to the rope on the fucking boat. You know what I'm saying? He's like,
That's awesome.
do you think this can fit through the eye of a needle? He's saying that like their souls are like big. You know, they become fat. They're not like a thin strand.
Yeah. No, that makes perfect sense. This makes me think. I mean, like dialectically, the other side of this, where you're talking about this stuff, and I go, this makes me want to pursue this. This makes me want to like spend more time actually thinking about this stuff. The other side is that like one of the first things I came across when I left was there was a video on YouTube called like A History of God, and it was very like almost edgy, you know, very like of its time atheism shit, but it was talking about this book that had to do with like the history of the writing of the texts, that got very into like, okay, well, if you have this understanding, you know, based on Sunday school, that like the Bible is a book that God wrote, and then like the next level as well, the Bible is a book that was written by, you know, 50, 60 authors, but then the next level is like Genesis was probably written by like 10 different people. It was probably like re-edited X many times over, and there's a lot of politics in the rewriting of the Bible, and like that doesn't necessarily mean that it's any less useful of a text. Maybe it makes it even more useful a text. Like I've heard you talking about like that
Yeah,
there's two.
not only I would say it's more than 10. I'm saying all of it's written by the entirety of man, you know, like because you're looking at Genesis and it's like, well, these are actually like retellings and like adoptions of much older stories like Babylonian
Sure.
tales, like Ugaritic and all of these things. And it goes on and on and on. So it's
Sure.
like, and it's like, for instance, like my book, did I write that on my own? Really? It's
No,
like, not really. I've read all of these other books and I'm
certainly
stealing shit from all of them. And it's like, that's all we're all doing. So it's like, what do we call that? Like, so that's like where I take like I would say like my conception of like the biblical canon, or like what's written by God. Literally everything is. Okay. So it's like how you understand how the Bible works is then how you can apply that hermeneutic to the rest of all other literature, right? And like that's like and to daily life, because it's like it's like the what it is like this intense training ground of literature, and like people very much obsessed with preserving these stories, and like and they are constantly referencing back to themselves. So it's in microcosm a sort of miniature replication of like the development of literature and scripture, literary language and poetry over millennia. So it's like there's no other book like that. There's no other
absolutely.
book where it has all of that type of revisions and dialectical relationship to itself. And that is what truly has been the most revolutionary part of that book, is it changes how people cognize, because you have to deal with all of these dialectical inversions and this complete like this cultivation of a symbolic network. And it's like, what is it about? It's about everyone and everything. You know, it's like the most. It's that's why it's unique.
A thing that I think about a lot is that the Hebrews of the time, like just the people of Canaan, right, were supposedly like polytheistic, and so there was like El Elyon, which is like God the Most High, like the Father. There's Baal and all these others, but that Yahweh was their God of war, and this idea that that like in Kings, right, when was it Josiah, when King Josiah finds the Book of the Law, rediscovers it after it's been lost, that part of that story and whatever the reality of that story has to do with a Yahwist faction of Judea retaking power, and like that a lot of the scripts were rewritten to just have Yahweh over these other names. That makes a lot of the stories in older books make more sense if you understand that this is a story where El comes in, and this is a story where Yahweh comes in, and this is a story El Elyon comes in. But this idea that like there's a hidden part to people's current understanding of the Bible, and that there's this new worshiping of Yahweh, who was the God of war. And like something about all of these cultures being built and understand on that they're worshiping the God of war, really, I think, to me, it speaks a lot of truth about how things are and about how twisted people's minds are around spirituality. And I think that that can be dialectically resolved to come to.
Well, it's like because
But
Jesus is a God of war too. He's just not about corporeal war. You see what I'm saying? So it's like this sublation where it's like, actually, we do want Yahweh, we do want warriors, but we want fucking mind warriors. We want spiritual warriors.
yeah,
You know,
I like that.
the full army, like all the metaphors are of war, right? Because life is war. This is a war. The cosmology of it all is war. Life is war. You look around. I'm looking around right now. There's literally ants attacking a spider and a spider attacking ants. You know what I mean? Life is war. Okay.
Yeah,
This is a war world, but like we can be warriors on a higher plane.
I've come not to bring peace but a sword.
Yes. All the metaphors are of war. Like I'm not like against, like I'm not like I don't know, I'm not like a pacifist in that sense or whatever, like a spiritual pacifist. Like I'm a warrior, man. I'm looking for a brawl all the time, but I don't want to physically fight. I want to fucking, I want to challenge. I want to really fight in a meaningful way, more than just punching, throwing fists.
Yeah, I like it. Well, thank you, man. I keep putting your thoughts out there.
Yeah,
I really
I would tell you one thing. Have you read Michael Hudson's "And Forgive Them Their Debts"?
No.
All right. I think that will really help put it together to you. Like, because if you're like interested in the Marxist stuff, like he's the greatest living Marxist, but it's also about all of the economic metaphors Jesus is making and like the very real nature of like what the concept of debt and like the debt jubilee and like the fact that all of Jesus's metaphors are these like economic, political economy parables.
Yeah.
It'll give you it'll put it all together for you. That's really what put it all together for me when I first read it, and I was like just grasping for a book like that, and I finally found it, and I was like, cool, I get it now.
Is this like the better version of Debt?
Yes, I think it's better. I like Graeber, but I like Michael Hudson more.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, 100%. All right, man. Well,
cool.
I appreciate the talk. Keep
all right,
going,
man. Peace.
Yep. Bye.
All right, Rick has been waiting. What's up, Rick?
Yo, what's up?
What's
Congratulations.
up, man? Thank you,
you and
man.
your kin are always welcome to Kansas City. Maybe you can visit me in Hudson.
Dude, I want to get down to Kansas City, actually. So maybe I'll hit you up on that.
Dude, we've been building some new infrastructure and shit. Like, it was funny, my grandma, she lives underneath this, like, old-ass bridge and shit that's, like, been there, like, forever. And, like, my great-grandma lives across the street. And, like, it's just so lovely, man. We've been, a lot of the Hamiltonian fucking, like, infrastructure is going into a new highway. Like, the international airport
that's like
talking about.
Yeah. My wife's grandpa is from Kansas City, so it's like a lot of old Yankees went over to Kansas City to like do a lot of industrial stuff back in the day.
Yeah, it's real fun. What I wanted to talk to you about, I finally saw Elvis with my girl. She owns it with her mom owns it at least, and we were watching it, and I didn't know that he had 1.6 billion viewers on the Tom Hanks satellite or whatever.
Yeah.
That really just puts into perspective, like you guys were saying about this paper tiger with Mao, about like nukes are paper tigers because they can't even they can't reach the spirit of that 1.6 billion people, even if they like try it at max. It's like
they can't compete with Elvis.
Yeah, and So another thing I wanted to bring up to you was have you read the Kingdom Come comics by DC?
Oh man, I remember that title, but I don't think I actually read them. Is that one of like their like multiverse things, or is that its own comic?
The opposite. It's the opposite, dude. No, you gotta understand. DC is the opposite of the.
I know DC is the opposite of Marvel, and it's better. I'm just saying I never got into like their whole crossover stuff. I was like a Vertigo guy.
This wasn't a. It's not a. It's a. It's a. Literally, the book opens up with the Spectre. He's like reading the Book of Revelations.
Okay. All right. I'm sold.
Yeah, you gotta. You know, next time we, yeah, you read that, and I'll talk to you about it next time, dude. That shit's like awesome. It's pretty prophetic. It's like the imagery too. Like I just changed my profile picture too, some of the imagery to it. But I was like, nah, dude, this shit's like really like prophetic and
Kingdom
shit.
Come. Who wrote it?
Like the paintings by like Alex Ross, and this is Christian. They're like some good Christians and shit.
Cool,
I was
cool.
getting
Was
into
that
some
like
of that, but
late
yeah,
80s?
it was like I think it's like 2000s.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll have to get the omnibus or something.
yeah. No, that this shit's yeah. I've been getting into that with my girl. Yeah, but the opposite of like yeah, that's what that's the I've been trying to like play with this yeah cosmos into like because we could recapitulate like this pretty easily by like you know with the intellectual property wars or whatever that are gonna be like going on.
Dude,
But,
my dream in life really would be to be able to take over the DC like fucking
yeah,
world. That would be the
exactly.
best.
Precisely, yeah. That's what I've been trying to do. Is like I'm making like yeah like this like dark side like big bad kind of shit. Like I've been working with my little brother, and we're kind of be like yeah, he'll come up to me and he'll just be like we'll be talking about like the new Marvel movies or some shit, and he'll be like yeah Scarlet Witch. I'm like dude Scarlet Witch is just like a Cartesian. She's just like you know she'll just be like oh it's just like she's just like what universe, and then she'll just like you know go into her Epicurean hypostasis, and I'm just like yeah like that's whatever man. I'm talking about like you know, like I'm talking about the one above all and shit.
I'm talking about Constantine. I'm talking about
yeah,
Swamp Thing.
yeah, and that's it. Well, yeah,
Dead
man.
Man.
Yeah, because there's so many because the stories of just all of that, like you know, like this they're all like entwined. Like it's all biblical. Like you know, all that shit's like entwined to like the
Yeah,
biblical.
DC is biblical and Marvel is Nordic.
Yeah. Yes. Precisely.
Yeah. All right. Cool. All right. Kingdom Come. All right. I put it on my list. All right. Thanks for
Oh,
talking to
also
me,
one
man.
more thing
Oh, one more thing.
about the Marshall McLuhan. I was is Eric McLuhan. He was talking about he was talking about like I was listening to one of their lectures he was having. That was another thing I sent you about the Star Wars thing about Marshall McLuhan's daughter taking him to go see Star Wars, and he couldn't handle he couldn't
Yeah.
handle it within the first 5 minutes. That shit was hilarious. Yeah, because that was from the institution from St. Louis inside Missouri. That he was that was from the one of the lectures that they were having. But one of the Eric McLuhan who said let me find the thread. One sec.
Eric's a cool guy. I like him.
Yeah, he's super dope. He's oh, okay, yeah, here it is. It's yeah, electricity makes empire building superfluous because it makes like where's the yeah, oh yeah, it has to do with like the gadget lover. Like he was talking about like the gadget lover.
Yeah.
And
the early adopter.
yeah, he was yeah, electricity makes all empire building obsolete because all geography is irrelevant. It makes all geography irrelevant.
That's true.
Yeah. Yeah, man. You have a good day. I hope I brought some fruitful shit.
You did. I'm gonna go look up Kingdom Come when I get inside. But thanks for coming on. I got one more. I'm doing E-Boy Kajev, and then I'm for real, Dunzo, because I want to get on with my day. But thank you all for showing up. All right, E-Boy Kajev.
Hey, hello. Congrats on getting married, I guess. That's
Thank you, man.
God, sorry, I'm a bit scrambled and I'm also very sick. So yeah, I guess things are kind of
It's all
gone
right.
by. But I guess to kind of like ask you what I was wondering about or what was going through my mind. I've been watching what's his name, Moldbug, doing like all these interviews at these different places. More with like kind of liberal, I guess, audiences, right? Recently, I saw
Yeah,
him
that's
on.
his audience.
Yeah, oh, of course, yeah. But like recently, I saw him on TYT, and he was like talking. He was trying to like sell Cenk Uygur on his like
On
monarchy
his
shit.
vision.
Yeah, and I was just kind of like wondering, like, if you've seen that, or what do you think, like the
I
design?
saw a screen cap, but I didn't watch it.
All right, yeah. I guess I was kind of wondering, like, what is this new phase that he's trying to, I guess, like into? Like, what is the design behind?
The design is to get the liberals and Democrats in on the future of having the neo Windsor, Meghan Sussex, new neo Anglosphere monarchy, social democracy, Nordic model. That's pretty much it, right? Isn't it pretty obvious?
Yeah, I guess when you put it that way, that is like the thing. But I'm just kind of wondering, like, is this audience really even down with that because Cenk Uygur
They will be.
was very pissed at him
They
for like a
they
good
love
bit
the
of it.
idea of having a they love the idea of Big Mom, Big Mommy, Big Mom in charge, Big Mom, social democracy, the Queen. They love the Queen.
Yeah, I guess I
There'll
was
be a
trying to
law. There'll
think.
be no kings allowed, only queens.
You know, like a kind of recent realization I've had about him is that he has kind of designed his entire. I guess like he doesn't give a shit about tech anymore. You notice, right? He really
Yeah,
only
no,
he doesn't care about. He dropped that. Like, yeah, that's old shit. Um, I guess his entire kind of recent design or political thing is really trying to. You're familiar with Dune, right? Of course.
yeah,
He's basically he wants to be a mentat. Like he
yeah,
really desperately wants to be um like I guess in China they have Wang Haning. America
yeah,
has Mencius Bulldog. And he spends his time in TYT whilst Wang Haning is in the Politburo. That's
yeah. He and Wang Huning's in the Forbidden City and like actively coordinating like an actual world
yeah,
power, and you instead of LARPing as it.
pretty much, pretty much. I mean, like, a thing that I kind of noticed throughout the interview with Cenk Uygur is that he was trying. Cenk Uygur is trying to like scare his audience the whole time, right? Because he's telling
Yeah,
them like, okay, you see this guy in front of you? He's a wacko. He's crazy, right? But guess what? He's friends with Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel's friends with Bannon. And Bannon is might gonna work with Trump next time. So what this wacko is saying, this is what Trump is gonna do if he's elected, guys. Um, and like greatly kind of overestimating um, the reach, I guess, like what's his name? This dude has.
any of them
Moldov.
really.
I mean, yeah, yeah, and I guess like to maybe switch a little bit. Obviously, you're familiar with like the teal cells in New York, like the whole like kind of propped up like meme scene there.
Yeah.
Um, what even? I mean, I guess other than nothing, what could a consequence of that be? Like, could they even accomplish really anything?
We might get an indie movie. I don't know,
Indie movie,
a
and
film festival.
it goes to like
Um,
Cannes and wins like place 43.
yeah, like what else? Like, what are they really producing? They're not even really making art. It's kind of just like they want to be a place. Like they're making parties to like have pictures taken at.
Yeah,
I guess I don't know. I don't know. They're not really making anything. It's just kind of like it's like fashion for fashion's sake, and it's like coverage because people get coverage, and you get coverage for covering the people who get coverage. I don't know. We got the Mike Crumpler got a blue skidooed. That's all I know.
like why does Teal waste his money on this shit?
Because he
Doesn't
doesn't have
really seem like
taste.
a good investment, you know?
He doesn't know what he's doing, and he doesn't have taste. And other people who he thinks like he's outsourcing a lot of this, right? So he's like recognizes when
Hmm.
other people are probably more literate or like more tasteful than him. And so like someone like Moldbug, right? He wants him around because Moldbug's a good guy. I like him. I like Curtis. I want to hang out with him again and interview him again and debate with him again because I used to have a good time doing that. But at the end of the day, he's just been stealing my shit for years now. He's telling people about Wyndham Lewis and all this. I'm just like, buddy, come on. You're taking all this from me. And at the end of the day, he should just be writing poetry because he's really a better poet than he is a political theorist. But I don't know. So,
Yeah, and
he's
his
taking other people's words for it. And he goes, okay, oh, these people are cool, or I guess like, or like they seem like countercultural and some they all like to think of themselves as like the truly open-minded free speech beatniks. I have the real lineage of the SDS and the 60s. Like this is how everyone like Teal is not some like let's go back to, return to tradition guy. That's the funny thing. Some people think that he's like super far right or something. No, he's
no,
just
no,
like a
he's
liberal
not.
bohemian cosmopolitan
Yeah,
guy.
he's he's a hippie basically. He's
Yeah,
just
they're
like an
all
older
hippies.
hippie. Yeah.
So's Curtis. Look at Curtis. He's a hippie.
Yeah, with the long hair and everything. I mean, that's you were pointing out whenever he talked with Tim Dillon, and like everyone in the comments were like, "What the fuck is this like schizoid homeless guy
Yeah, yeah.
talking?"
Everyone just thinks that he's a hippie. They're just like, this guy's at Burning Man. Like, what the fuck? That's it.
Yeah, he constantly was talking about like, "Oh well, you see, Burning Man. Burning
Yeah,
Man's
he's
this
like, Burning
great
Man is like
thing."
the real model of a utopian future. And it's like, you're
Yeah,
just a fucking hippie, dude. Like, we get it.
you
But,
want to take LSD in the desert and like
yeah, it's like
I don't know,
Isolen.
model sobriety
The
after
real
that.
scene it's really all Isolen. Like, they're just trying to make Isolen too. You know, Isolen 2 will have a New York outpost of Isolen, and it'll be like, oh, like, yeah, here we're not afraid of reading about Kalki and left hand path mysticism and tantra, and because we're true free spirits, true
Yeah,
free noble
I'm
Nietzschean
surprised
intellects.
he hasn't gotten into like Buddhism whenever he's talking to like kind of liberals. That seems to be, I think, like maybe his next thing, perhaps.
I don't
Though
think
I
he can
don't
do
know.
Buddhism because it's hard to do Buddha. You could go Zen Buddhism emperor, but it's hard to be. I don't know. It's funny because he's just not that. He doesn't actually have that wide of erudition when it comes to a lot of this stuff. You know, like he doesn't know shit about Christianity at all. You know what I'm saying? Like at all, literally at all. He has no conception. He has no. He just thinks it's all like it's all hogwash to him. He doesn't understand theology. Like it's not meaningful
I mean,
content to him.
what is the point of theology? That's probably what he was taught in the fucking colonial officer school he went to, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah, like all the shit is useless anyways. And then he after that he hung out with like tech cells, and all they did was just like talk about how great and expansive the world of tomorrow and the internet is going to be.
Yeah, and his taste in
And
literature is really
yeah,
Victorian.
yeah, it's the shit that they basically showed him in the colonial officer school. Like
Yeah,
that's
and it's
he's
like
still
I
kind
like
of
I'm not gonna lie, I like some Victorian ass literature sometimes, you know, and like I hate the British Empire, but I also understand what people like about it. I understand the fandom, but I don't know. I'm like he's not reading Walt Whitman, you know. He's not a real folksy person. He's straining so hard to get that though. That's all he really wants. He wants to be accepted by like the hayseed America, you know. At the
no,
end of
but
the day,
yeah, it's kind
that's
of
what he
autistic
wants.
because he doesn't think America exists or whatever. Oh,
Yeah.
American culture does not exist, all that kind of thing.
Yeah, and it's like
Um,
you listened to 70s
yeah,
Bob Dylan? You know, it's like what do you mean American culture doesn't exist?
yeah,
It's like have
it's
you
kind of like
listened
that.
to all of Desire, dude? Have you listened to the song ISIS on that? Well, that's American culture.
Dude, I don't know how he. I don't know. I mean, I don't think he has an actual coherent project or whatever. But like, still, just kind of fundamentally, how do you appeal to people when you say that the shit that they're into, whatever, doesn't exist and or is fake?
Well,
You know, their
he's
cultural
appealing to the
background.
liberals. He's appealing to like the suburban, like
Oh yeah,
upper middle class
the
liberals
quote.
for whom that is
Yeah,
true. For whom that is an
yeah,
actual reality. Like they don't have a culture. They have TV.
I get that. And
Well, it's like
last
it's kind
thing
of
to
funny.
say.
I just wanted to
Okay,
say this.
go
I
ahead.
just wanted to add this because it was like kind of
Yeah,
relevant. So like I have a lot of like city friends and stuff, or like people born and raised like entirely in cities, and they came out to my wedding, and like my wife was like, "Look, they're all going to the petting zoo like the day after." A bunch of people did different things. Some people went hiking, some people went biking, or like on went swimming in the river and the lake or whatever, and they wanted to go to the petting zoo, and she thought that was really funny. I was like, "Well, if they don't see animals, like a cow to them is like this radically like wow, it's a cow in front of me and I can give it food. Whereas I grew up like hop, skip, and a jump from a fucking cow farm. So it's not like I want to go see cows and that would be that exciting for me. You know what I'm saying? But it's like he's like that. Like he would be like, wow, you can just feed a cow. It's right here and you can pet it. You know, like they're not like tied to the land as much. So they really don't think there is like an authentic like American culture because they have never lived in it.
I get that. I guess before I finish, I gotta say, you should come to Sweden one time. Pull up here, check it out, do the Sweden investigation. I know I will give you credit, honestly. You talk way more about Sweden than like basically anyone I've ever seen in like the English language
Yeah,
uh, Twitter politics. Because the all the retarded right wingers I follow, they just kind of talk about like crime statistics from 2018
yeah,
and they just kind of autistically obsess about that, or just like birth rates or something. And they never talk about like the insane bureaucracy, the police state,
yeah.
the weird shit that just they have the right to do a lot of weird shit here that they're not usually able to do in other countries.
Yep.
Um, and no one really pays attention to like for example the economic aspects of the security state, their involvement in Gladio, all the weird shit even before that, like even during like the scramble for Africa, what the state planners here did. No one really posts about that. And also another thing that you didn't post is Sweden technically kind of has nukes.
Yeah.
Though to be fair, so do a couple more countries. But I guess there's that, right? But yeah, I kind of wanted to give you credit for that because thank you for
I mean, that was a new
bringing
that was a big that was like a big eye-opening moment for me, really, when I was realizing like, oh, I gotta figure out fucking Sweden. Like something's up here. Like I just had like I was like, there's
Yes.
something up here, and it really explained like the Baltics, like those like basically like Sweden's like the middle figure that mediates
Yes.
like the British Empire, the Russian Empire. They had the Swedish Empire.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, it used to have like a lot of power regionally or so, and then it kind of
Yeah, and you guys never
transformed
had
that into different forms.
the revolution.
No, it's there was basically like just a civil war a very, very long time ago, and then the closest thing you have to that is the coup on like what's his name, Gustav the Third.
Yeah, but Gustav the Third was like based. That was like the Glorious Revolution in England, where it was like it sucks because we put in the fucking Dutch guy, and you know what I mean?
Yeah, and then the closest thing you have to that here is or in closest times is basically like a Napoleonic era when they took one of Napoleon's marshals, Bernadotte, and made him king here because the king died. That's the last change basically, and that was like 18, I don't know, 19, 1815, one of those
Yeah,
years. Um, that was the last basically like change ever in the entire country, and all the weird shit that happens here, like I don't know, like the fucking prime minister gets shot, and literally, no one cares. I mean, like no one cares in the state, like they
yeah,
sabotage the investigation, and no other country ever brings it up, like what happened to what happened to your prime minister or the UN general secretary, the guy who was Swedish and his fucking plane got blown up in Angola, or sorry, in Congo.
yeah,
Yeah, no, that's another thing no one gives a shit about,
yeah.
and
It's
like the
really
weird
odd.
deep state connections.
It's really
Yeah,
odd. I don't know. Yeah, but I would like to go to Sweden. I feel well. I'd like to go anywhere really. I'm just interested in places, but I feel like it wouldn't really blow my mind after having seen Copenhagen. Like, is anywhere better than Copenhagen if I'm going to go to a like Nordic state?
yeah, Stockholm is like way better in my opinion. There's way more like historical shit.
Yeah.
In yeah, but though it is very similar though. That's
Yeah, but
kind of
is that?
the
Do you have a McKellar though? Do you have anything as good as McKellar?
probably. I'm actually like from West Sweden, so I'm pretty far from Stockholm. I don't
Okay,
even go
okay.
there, so I'm not
Well, I'd
really too
actually
familiar
rather go out
with
to where you are
exactly.
than to Stockholm. I don't really want to go to Stockholm, to be honest with you.
Yeah, if you want to go to where I'm at, dude, it's a fucking forest, dude. It's like you should
I
probably
love the
go north.
forest. I'm in
Go
the
north.
forest right
That's
now. I
like,
love the forest. I like mountain lakes. Mountain lakes. I know you got those.
yeah. There's a bunch of these. I do have. I live like next to like one of the biggest lakes in Europe, which is kind of cool.
That's pretty
Though
sick, dude. Sounds better than
a lot of the
Stockholm.
more,
You got a jet
a lot of the
ski?
more important stuff is more in the north. Like if you
Do
want
you jet
to see
ski
like the
on the
big
lake?
mountains. Some people do. I don't.
Do you
I really.
wakeboard?
No, some people do. I don't. I don't
You
do
don't wake,
anything on the
dude.
lake.
What the fuck is wrong with you? Go out wakeboarding. That's what I'd be doing.
Dude, I explore the forest, man. I'm like a forest guy,
Okay, that's
you know.
cool. That's cool. You're foraging for mushrooms. Like this used to be Sweden. Foraging for mushrooms, Peter
No,
Sweden or whatever.
the mushroom thing, that's another kind of psyop. That Swedish people almost never did like the mushroom shit until like the 1800s, because the French king basically like culturally imposed that,
That's
and ever
funny.
since then, yeah, and ever since then, like people here were kind of obsessed with mushrooms. I remember in middle school, like they would take us out to the forest and like they would let us run around and try to find mushrooms, and shit like that. So that's yeah, it's
That's kind
very
of cool.
ingrained here
I like
culturally.
fish soup though. I like fish soup and like stuff like that. So I think I would enjoy that.
Have you ever tried surströmming?
What's that? I don't know. Maybe I might have. I don't know if
That's
I know the name.
that's the fucked up like rotten fish that
Oh
like
no, I
people
don't want
made
to
into
try
a
that.
meme. Yeah,
Lutefisk?
it became a big meme. And no surströmming.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, that's people really don't like that. And like, I guess like last thing before I go is Have you seen that Hillary Clinton is gonna fucking interview ContraPoints?
Yeah, I made a reference to that earlier on this. Yeah,
Oh, really?
that's like the least fucking surprising thing in the entire
Yeah.
fucking world I have ever heard in my entire fucking life. I'm so bored of all of this. I called this like 3 years ago. I'm tired of seeing it all like play out, and everyone's like so fucking far behind me, dude. You know, I'm like, yeah, like ContraPoints. Your dad's Arlington, Virginia. Where do you think she's going? You know what I mean? So boring. So boring. It's so obvious. Everything's so played out, and it just keeps happening. So boring. I hate politics, dude. So fucking boring. Everyone's so dumb. Everyone gets led around like so easily. Everyone's so easily manipulated into doing all the same bullshit over and over again. There's no
Yeah, it
point in
seems
talking about it. That's what I've realized. There's
seems
literally no
that
point.
what's her name? Like they're all kind of running like different kind of projects, if you noticed. Hers is kind of just trying to kind of be like a rich performer, like a rich performer for rich people, not even like for the commoners, I'd imagine. Um,
Yeah, she wants to be an
Destiny's
aristocrat.
trying, Destiny's trying to do like he's trying to kind of become like alternate Ben Shapiro. Like he's been talking a lot about like trying to start something like the Daily, what is it called? The Daily Caller, the Daily whatever the fuck.
Yeah,
Like a
he's like
news
trying to
network.
get like Nick Fuentes to become like a neolib.
Yeah,
He might
yeah.
succeed.
Yeah, it's toned down the he might be also like hanging out with Nick Fuentes that like fucking Peter Thiel funds his media company later on.
Yeah.
Something like that. So they're all kind of running just interesting little designs, I guess. I hope
They're all liberals. That's all it is.
yeah.
None of them have
I,
actually
I
any
hope
like real.
I have to see where it ends up, you know. I don't think
I
it's
know
gonna
where
be
it
any
ends
good,
up, dude. It's just the Anglosphere. They've been putting this shit together for decades. It's not out there. It's
so
literally
it's
all
not gonna be anything
planned.
new. It's not gonna be anything new, but it's just I wanna just like it's for my own enjoyment really.
I guess, yeah, it is funny to watch happen. It's like watching
Yeah,
Charlie Brown try to kick the football every election
it is.
cycle.
It is, yeah.
All
All
right.
right.
Well, I want to get off too,
That
guys.
was
So
yeah.
have a good
See ya,
one,
man.
everyone listening. You too, E-boy. All right. Have a good one, guys. God bless. Oh, and listen to Desire, Bob Dylan, the album Desire. That shit goes hard. So fucking hard. And listen to the live version of ISIS. Oh, so good. All right. Peace.